1 second. I think I got it. Oh shit, yeah, okay, got it. Hello everyone. Let's go. Did I update? Yeah, it looks like everything's updated. Hello Shishijiji. Hello Orbs. Hello Akari. Hello Nevion. Hello Awakening. Yeah, Bax Caliba. Hello Bunny Girl Trey. Hello Stress guys. Hey dude. Hey dude. So yeah, I thought instead of doing some Yu-Gi-Oh, I thought I'd just react because I don't plan on streaming for too long, especially because it's like the holidays. I was watching Stranger Things earlier, but like literally, like for like we were get halfway through the 4th episode, and we're just like, bro, nothing's happening. So we just like the next batch of episodes comes out in an hour, but we still have to get through episode 4, so kind of rough. Oh wait, shit. Merly, Chris's, and Felice Navigate. Felice Navigate. Oh, thank you. Any react topic in mind? Let me look at the list. We have suggestions. Alright, there's a Firewall video by Farfa. There's the Joshua Schmidt Ash video. There's the Card Market collab with Josh. Have you been nice this year? Hell no. I made fun of Charlie Kirk. I'm in hell now. I need to see the Firewall vid. Okay, we can look at that. Feliz Natal. Okay. okay, nice. Yeah, no, I'm in hell now. I'm so nice, Santa came twice type shit. That's crazy. What? The history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Beef? Why you aren't good at Yu-Gi-Oh! By Farfa? Oh, I don't know. There's a Pack Genesis video, but there's also the Out of Characters video, but I was like, I read the article and I was like, you know what? I don't really want to read it. Yeah, okay. Nice. This is someone. Okay, well, I'm deciding.
The enemies return to normal. To normal. Only one enemy.
Who leaked this?
Last.
Oh, I see.
Okay. The enemy's weakness is electricity. Okay. Wow, another enemy defeated. Okay. Kenku's in trouble.
OG Fuka, see?
Okay.
Nice.
Two enemies. Wow, Sentai
We have this song going on.
This one's focused. Stay dangerous. This will be a difficult fight. Okay.
You're going down.
I know this is the original, but it's also one of. I really enjoy this, the P3R version
It
of this.
seems you have to defeat this one to win. It has multiple weaknesses.
I think I like Master of Tartarus more, but. Magic, I saw that line. I'm not gonna say that out loud. I just saw that. Look up, yeah, look up.
So powerful. Please hurry. It seems like it's weak against. Koro-chan must be a
Koro-chan. Bro, she be glazing Koromaru. Literally, all her voice when I had her on my team, when I had Koromaru on my team, she could never stop talking about Koromaru.
About things I can see, like bats and knives.
One shot Strength Shadow with what?
Akihiko Senpai. It has multiple weaknesses. What am I fighting for?
Okay, well, why did they add this fucking zero voice line? Okay. Okay, we watched the Firewall video. Da, 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 da. Wheel to inflict. Oh, okay. Hello, Voltelleric. But arrived. That one cracks me up. But arrived cracks me up just because of the frame rate. All right. I'll do full screen.
Every new set.
Ah, Kripparrian. That's crazy. Okay. I was kind of around when Firewall. Goki Firewall, I kind of checked out of that format. I think that's around the time I was starting my undergrad and I took a break. But I think the Goki loop with Firewall was kind of known before then. We just didn't have like enough Goki names to hit critical mass. Like the first 3 Goki cards floated off Link. So it was like, oh, okay. And Firewall wasn't once per turn to summon from hand and wasn't locked to summoning Cybers from hand. Firewall pre-errata is too long for me. Like, okay, one thing to keep in mind. Here's some like things to stamp out because there's a lot of like I don't want like just to set the tone. When Firewall people knew Firewall was broken. However, the Jeff Jones Firewall combo was dicks. All right, no one played that shit, but it did demonstrate how busted Firewall was. Like we just didn't have like the right environment for Firewall to really pop off. But if that gets talked about a lot, that combo sucked ass. All right. What did actually come up with Firewall was Lilybell. Lilybell Firewall OTK. I don't remember it too well. I think it's just you have 2 Lilybells in rotation. You poke with one, add back the Lilybell, it summons itself. You crash the other Lilybell. Now the second one attacks directly again, and then you add back the Lilybell or something like that. Something like that. Or maybe it's just Firewall just bounces it, but after you crash it. Firewall, no, not Firewall bounces it. Firewall summons it from hand after it crashes. That actually was a thing. Yeah, bonk loop. Yeah. But yeah, I think people were definitely aware of how broken Firewall was. We just didn't reach critical. I feel like it was might have been before Goki, might have been Dangers too, but been a while. Happy holidays. All right, so yeah, that's wait, we have to update the setting again, bruh. Let me voice boost. What the fuck is voice boost? What is the setting? I'm not touching that. Is there really no? Where's my subtitles options? Font color. I think we want yellow. Yeah. Can we change the opacity of the background? Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Been 10 years? Yeah. 10 years. And then eventually it got banned, and usually I was expecting Narada because it's kind of embarrassing for like like an anime prevalent card to be banned. So they eventually did it. Took a while though. All right. The story of Yu-Gi-Oh's most hated boss monster. Okay.
In any trading card game, you find cards are just incrementally more powerful than the previous set. And so over time, something eventually has to give way. The community finds an interaction or combo the developers had
Was that
no
before or after the
intention
anime?
of
I'm not
making to
sure.
print. So much so
Could have
that
been
one
after.
of Yu-Gi-Oh's most embarrassing moments was a small child being beaten on a live stream turn 1
All
without
right.
playing a single card by a YCS champion. Konami, licensor of the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game staff members.
All right, we got that check mark.
Headquarters got a
Check
ton of
that.
prank calls, angry emails, and staff adjacent judges on social media.
Oh,
calls.
this was stupid as fuck. This was really stupid. I don't know why people were like, they were reaching such a frenzy that they were like actually harassing, like calling, because we didn't get a ban list. Eventually it got banned. I think it got banned, but not because of this bullshit. All right. Like basically people were just phoning the department and just be like, ban Firewall. Oh my god, I remember that. That was so fucking annoying. Yeah, oh my god. Oh my god.
For a cease to the riots of the players online. Till eventually,
It was not justified. I'm gonna be honest. Like Firewall should be banned, but I don't think like this behavior is justified. This was stupid as fuck. Like this is like I don't know how to describe it.
Media blackout was what it took for this card to finally be banned.
It was not the social media campaign. I'm pretty sure it was already gonna get banned. I don't believe for a second like this like outcry. This is actually like straight up cap. I think people like to think that, you know, because oh yeah, our voices were finally heard. But like we don't know what went on behind the scenes. It's more than likely that they already decided and people are just being fucking annoying.
In Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the story of
Tantrum?
Yu-Gi-Oh's
True.
most hated boss monster.
Brings out a finish Firewall
Chapter
propaganda.
1. Prologue.
At this point in time, in 2025,
Oh, yeah, my
we have
favorite-
had
my
our
favorite
fair
Twitter
share of
poster.
bullshit over the years. Since day one of Yu-Gi-Oh, you could open something heinous like scientist reasoning and burn your opponent's life before they've even had a turn.
Made
And this
new
was
OG
20
Firewall?
years ago. Teledad existed.
It's crazy
which
because
struggled.
like they're all kind of improvements of the original, and like I'm sure they could imagine something but it's like if you think about it, it would just be unerrated or something.
Only was a very powerful combo deck that could set up resilient big
Yeah, good
synchro
setup
boss
here.
monsters, like the notorious Stardust Dragon. It was also paywalled behind some very pricey cards and rare cards as well, truly stretching the definition of pay to win. Apocalyphort Towers was another card that has had a legacy so embedded into the Yu-Gi-Oh community that until
Yep.
today,
This is the reason why we call things towers. But this is like kind of fake now. This is unaffected by spells and traps, unaffected by levels and ranks, but not link monsters. So SP owns this bitch ass. It has like a what's called attack modifier that makes it effectively like 3500, which made it more annoying now. No firewall figure, bruh.
people call unaffected boss monsters towers over 10.
Yeah. Unaffected by spell trap effects, activated effects. What a loser! Activated effects? Get out of here. Yeah, it has to be anything that's lower. I think this was like level 10 or something like that. Yeah, I think it's level 10 because Shekinagi is level 10. Yeah.
Years later. But there is one card we're going to focus on today. He is not technically a dragon, he's not fire attribute, and he certainly won't protect your network from cybersecurity threats. That card is Firewall Dragon.
Was Masterpiece after Towers? Yeah, I think so.
Chapter 2. Master Rule 4.
Yeah, it's way
Before we discuss
after.
the specifics of
Masterpiece was
Firewall
way
Dragon
after.
himself, it's important
Towers.
to set the scene. Master Rule 4 in 2017, almost 10 years ago, was arguably the biggest change to the history of Yu-Gi-Oh's rules. Synchros, Ixies, and Fusion monsters are all monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh you might be familiar with, and these now could no longer be summoned anywhere onto the duel field. Back in the good old days of Yu-Gi-Oh, you would activate Polymerization and dump 2 or 3 out of your hand into the grave, and you would get a twin-headed Thunder Dragon or something. Not the most economical investment in terms of card advantage, but nonetheless, you can do it within the confines
Actually, Thunder Dragon is pretty economical because it adds 2 copies of itself.
of the rules. Initially, with Master Rule 4, you could only summon these monsters to the extra monster zone, a new zone, or a zone a link monster points to. A way for Konami to, I suppose, push for you to buy these new link monsters and play link strategies. The community thought that this would be a
Were you playing when
natural
MR?
expansion
Yeah.
of the game. Yu-Gi-Oh was at risk of
This
breaking
seems miserable.
rules.
Yeah, a lot of decks died. And links weren't good enough to yeah, a lot of decks died. My pet decks all died. Zodiac was definitely meta wise, Zodiac was still what's called Zodiac was still way playable, so it didn't matter too much. It was like that was like around the transitionary period. Goki and Trickstar had good like first waves. Trickstar was actually pretty strong. I like high card quality, but then afterwards it tapered off. Eventually Goki got another like wave. Thunder Dragon's pot of greed, yes. Thunder Dragon's pot of greed. I want to say like unfortunately I think it did kind of slow down the game a bit, but links weren't even like that great. Firewall was really hard to use back then. I think, what were the original links? It was Link Spider, Decode Talker, and Honeybot, I think. That's what the ones we got at first. And then there were some others. I think Firewall Dragon was printed in the core set. I think the 3 I just named were in like a structure. Firewall Dragon was printed. There's Goki Link 3. There's an Ultrageist Link 3. Yeah, it was like Prime Banshee Ultrageist. They killed. Yeah. Goyo Defender just died. Okay, Goyo Defender died. Honeybot, yeah. Milus Radiant, yeah. Milus Radiant's nice. 3 you mentioned were on the starter deck, nice. I'm trying to think of what came out in the core set. It was Firewall, Prime Banshee. I think some fucking Goki, boss monster. Trickstar, Holly Angel, pretty sure that came out. So right at that time, the anime just introduced links that were like bosses. Was Topologic Bomber introduced in the same set? I think it was Topologic Bomber Dragon. I think it might have been the set after, but most people were kind of duped, thinking that was because it was 3,000 attack, and then Borreload was introduced after Topologic Bomber. Yeah, he was? Okay. I think people were convinced that guy was the rival. And they got duped because Revolver was I think Circuit Break was when which is the set after, was when Borreload Dragon was introduced. But yeah, a little bit of okay. Also, they did the series. I think Mrs. Radiant was Link 2. It's like, is it 2 Earth monsters? But basically, it's like a retrain of Milus Radiant that boosted every Earth monster by 500 and then reduced another attribute by 400 attack. I think throughout the series of Reigns, they introduced one attribute. And I think Great Fly, which was the wind, and Wee Witch, which was dark, were introduced last. 2 monsters including Earth, okay. But Mrs. Radiance was the first. So that was like the closest to generic we could get. There was probably another guy that was like 2 monsters. But yeah, it was pretty dire. They weren't too notable. Firewall Dragon, of course. You can read it and be like, what the fuck? But it was hard to use. There was a Link Reigns pack, but I forgot when that was introduced. That shit was dumb as fuck.
Drive with power creep, and so since you can no longer spam the field with all of these synchros and fusions and Xyz monsters, perhaps Yu-Gi-Oh would now revert back to the golden age.
Lanfarinkus? No, that came in a structure deck probably a year later.
Completely untrue. The game did sort of fall
that came in another starter deck, but it might have been a year or 2 years later.
Monsters were Honeybot, Link Spider, and Decode Talker. You could probably see why.
There we go. Yeah, those 3.
Purposes, plain vanilla monsters on the field that didn't really serve much purpose other than to create more zones. And well, Decode Talker is 2 negates depending on who you ask.
Chapter 3, Code of the Duelist.
With the inception of Master Rule 4, the set accompanying it a mere week later was Code of the Duelist in August 2017. This was the advent of Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon is a 2500 attack, light attribute Cyburst monster with a link rating of 4 that requires 2+ monsters to summon, which is just going to sound like a bunch of words to someone who hasn't played in years. Before we even focus on his effect, let's look at a couple of important aspects here. This being the summoning condition. Firewall Dragon is a link 4 monster, meaning that it requires 4 materials or monsters to summon. That's a ridiculously expensive investment for any monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, it's one more than the God cards. Enter Link Climbing. By utilizing powerful special summoning and floating effects, you could make a Link 2, bring out a guy for free from your extra deck with a Grave effect, make a Link 3, use another extender to make a 4, and
use another extender. I like how they don't mention transcode. Transcode was, I think, 2 sets after. I think transcode was later. They don't even go through. Link Decoder is a modern invention. It had no place in this era. Monster Reborn, yeah, just Monster Reborn, bro. Just the link climb, the common link climb method, Monster Reborn. Honey, yeah, I actually did want to pull off like double Honeybot under like in the main monster zone, just link to each other because they're technically like hard to out. Oh, this also introduced Scapegoat. Scapegoat was insane back then. I don't know if it was this era, but I think when Access Code was okay, that's the end of Reigns. But Scapegoat was like widely played.
One Firewall with a Link 3 and a token. You could use 2 Link 2s. Pretty much any way to get to the number 4 could make you a Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon until today
Locks you
has
into
one of the
Cybers?
most relaxed summoning conditions.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
any
yeah.
Link 4 or boss monster. It doesn't need effect monsters. You can use tokens. It only needs 2 materials, and it creates pretty good zones with its crosshair formation, allowing you to co-link quite easily. Something we'll talk about later. Firewall's quick effect is that it can return monsters from the field or graveyards, up to the number of monsters co-linked to it, and return them to the hand. And so you might be wondering, well, this is just a fancy compulsory evacuation device. Get a guy off the field, return it to the hand. Sounds like pretty standard card game removal, non-destruction style removal, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
its early
yeah.
days,
Conveniently
Firewall was
ignore that it
returning
targets grave.
more monsters to the hand. It was returning our monsters to the hand. So what people eventually figured out with Firewall Dragon is that
Okay,
if
this
you
is-
send some very
This is the Jeff Jones. Isn't this the Jeff Jones combo? This combo's dicks. Okay. I don't remember that, actually. Melee the trees is a big red flag though. Send Dandelion.
important monsters from your deck to the graveyard. You could then retrieve those same monsters back to your hand. Okay, so I returned 1 or 2 monsters.
Oh, Gaia Saber. Gaia Saber was really cool. Gaia Saber was like a non-effect Link 3. It had cool interactions with Daigusto Emerald. So that was actually a realistic way you could use Daigusto Emerald doesn't just shuffle back 3 cards. You can also summon a non-effect monster from the graveyard. So you can revive Gaia Saber and then make Firewall with that. Foolish cards and get them back, yeah. My goodness.
To my hand via dumping them out of the deck into the grave through some means, right? What's the big deal here? What am I supposed to do with these guys in my hand? I probably had to normal summon to even make the Firewall in the first place. What am I doing with these guys? Firewall has a second effect. It wouldn't be Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! If each card didn't have 3+ effects, a grave and a float and a negate and a rip, and punch your opponent in the mouth, probably. If a monster this card points to is sent to the graveyard, even by battle, you can special summon any monster from your hand. And so you might be watching this video years later thinking,
I like how he showed the errata. Yeah. People think Dandelion was Jaden. Well, it wasn't. People think it's a synchro from like 5Ds or something. He's showing the errata version just for the. This is not the. That's not exact. This effect is not what he was saying.
The graveyard, even by battle, you can special summon any monster from your hand. And so you might be watching this video years later thinking to yourself, right, so you're going to summon from your hand once, and it's going to be a Cybers monster, right? Is it really that powerful? We see it until today. Firewall Dragon isn't doing anything, even in top-tier combo decks like Malice. That's because Firewall has had its text changed. This is a modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Card's errata. Firewall Dragon is the only non-classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Card to receive an errata. Now, it depends how we're describing the term modern here, but the youngest card to receive an errata that isn't Firewall Dragon is Goyo Guardian, and also Ancient Fairy Dragon, which were printed in 2008 and 2009, respectively.
SMH.
Firewall Dragon breaks the boundaries of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You only get one normal
What's
summon
up,
turn,
Gamma?
and yes, you can special summon a lot, and that could lead to some broken combos, but every time you special summon, you usually need a different resource to generate that special summon. But Firewall Dragon alone gives you an infinite number of special summons, so it changes that ceiling from high to now infinity, and it opens up multiple infinite loops that are otherwise just impossible. It creates way more possibilities than any other card in the game, and that's just a fraction, because it has other effects that are very good on their own, but it's this infinite special summon effect that makes it truly over the top.
And so from here, you can understand mechanically what Firewall is trying to practically do. It was easy to summon. You co-linked it, returned an important enabler or resource
Oh yeah, Gaia Saber, my goat.
to the hand from your graveyard, dumping it from the deck, and then summon it onto the field by linking away a monster that the Firewall points to. In a very basic application and TLDR of what this card is doing, it's taking a monster from your deck and placing it onto the field, for free. Surely this interaction would be far too convoluted, right? Summoning a Link 4 monster in the first
Yeah,
place,
there it is. Daigusto resummon Gaia Saber. I told you.
summoning more monsters that then retrieve cards.
Firewall
after that.
Dragon, yeah. There's another one that was Red Rise Darkness Metal Dragon and Triple Burst. So when Firewall basically I was like, when Firewall was introduced, I was like, I hope there's like a Link 3 dragon monster you can revive off Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. So this I don't oh my god. Now this is coming back to me.
Throwing them into the graveyard.
Also, do you see this? Are these what's going on here? Lunalight? What was it? Cavalry I forgot what this was. What's this playmat? Oh, these custom playmats were so popular back in the day. Where basically like I don't know how to describe it. But basically they're obviously they're fan made. But it's like how to play this deck. And then like every single zone is made with care to be like I'm trying to remember. Like what's it called? Like if I said like how to play Cybers, there'd be an extra monster zone that says put your what's called allied code here or something like that. what's called, and then you would name the graveyard like I don't know, like I don't know what you name the graveyard is. You just draw your, some were custom, yeah, some were custom, but this was so popular back in the day. They were kind of funny. I need one. Yeah, you could probably come up with one nowadays. This was so popular back then. I forgot that. Oh my god. Like how to play Infernity. Ghosts of Fallen Friends. Do you win? Monk. Opponent open window. Drew Eris. Okay, so this is how to play Infernity. Right? Weakness banless. Strengths auto win. Fast pace. Skillful combos. Special hand zone. Oh my god. Wait, this is Infernity, right? Yeah, this is how to play Infernity. Oh my god. It's like the Photoshop shortcut keyboard protector. Yeah. Oh my god. Negate everything, and it's just this back row. Okay, yeah, this is how to play Infernity.
Recurring them back to your hand, and then
Wait, who is this? Never dead. Crippled but never dead. Who the fuck is this? Why is he on a wheelchair? Is this Infernity Archfiend, MS Paint? What happened to bro? Down but not out. Oh my god. Now I feel like I feel so fucking old now that you fucking pointed that
other
out.
monsters on the field to then bring those monsters onto the... I mean, that just sounds like some dumb YouTube combo. It's essentially a joke from TikTok, right? Well, enter the hive mind.
Those were YouTube combos, okay? Those are YouTube combos, all right? Don't fucking... This is revisionist, all right? I remember it was like Spiral and Goki where fucking Firewall actually like took off.
Chapter 4. First turn kill.
Just a week later, Firewall Dragon got its first ever YCS or Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series top, making it to top 32 of YCS Toronto in September 2017, featuring cards that had
Was it also World Chalice too? World Chalice did play Firewall because it could actually like loop a bunch of guys. It actually added a bunch, and you can actually summon a bunch. I came in for the Yapathon. Yeah.
Almost no play whatsoever for years. Manticore of Darkness, previously used for niche deck-out situations with Maxx C, and Grand Soil the Elemental Lord. This FTK was ridiculously consistent, and if you didn't FTK your opponent, you had a lot of True Draco and Dino-relevant plays that could win the game on its own. And remember, this is 2017. This is hardly the hand trap haven that we're accustomed to in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! We don't have 20 non-engine hand traps like Imperm, Ash, Valor, Droll, all main decked with powerful...
I don't even think we had Nibiru around this time. I think Nibiru is also like a modern invention. I think it was like 2018. Hello, some great pony. Yu-Gi-Oh! The YouTube combo game, true.
Into two Zodiac Broad Bulls, which have been banned for
they ended up hitting this really fast. I think I remember. That's why this guy got limited and he got unhit. And also, yeah, Pop the Baby. You know, he's showing a lot of resolve here without having to say Pop the Baby. 2019?
Long time now, which is also a generic...
You make the video a tiny bit louder. Okay.
Or monster with 2 level 4s only, activating the effect to search a generic Beast Warrior, the Manticore of Darkness, Xyzing up into another Zoo name, back into another Broad Bull, since you can summon it with the cheating mechanic of sorts of Zodiac once per turn, and so you would get 2 generic Beast Warrior searches in one single rank 4. Firewall would then bring these Manticores out onto the field by linking some bodies away from the zone it points to, not once per turn as we've established. After getting the Manticores out, you could summon Beatrice, an honorary Burning Abyss monster, and send the Grand Soil from deck to the graveyard, which Firewall Dragon could then retrieve. This combo, or this play pattern specifically, would
I remember Dino Rabbit.
Firewall Dragon for years to come. Well, year. And so after a flurry of plays later, this combo would practically end up resulting in completely decking your opponent out. You could hypothetically infinitely loop by remaking Firewall Dragon and a rank 9 monster enter Blathnir, which has the effect to banish 1 card from the top of your opponent's deck. You would perform this combo, or loop, 5 times to banish all cards out of your opponent's hand, and then a further 35 plus times to banish the rest of the cards in their deck. Used in tandem with Daigusto Emerald, a generic rank 4, which...
Also, why are you asking me is it normal? Like, seriously, are you really worried about being judged for, like, having, like, I don't, okay, I think it's weird to ask that. Like, just, if you're gonna, like, dislike somebody, you either just keep it to yourself or just, you know, not worry about how other people think about it. You know, it's, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Yes, you're superiorly valid for, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
all of those extra deck monsters and putting them back to reuse again. Now, assuming your opponent
I'm more of a
doesn't
Jesse
get something that can
guy.
actually interact with you,
I don't
it's
watch
possible
Farfa, but
to
that
play
doesn't
out
mean
for an
much.
entire
I just
afternoon.
watched.
Now, at the time, nobody really thought much of this. It was some dumb YouTube combo, some clickbait title that managed to crawl its way into a YCS top. Surely this was not going to be the dominant metagame that we would ever expect.
Is it just? Oh, that actually triggers me. Anytime anytime I see a Reddit thread that says, "Is it just me?" and it's like popular opinion, I want to fucking explode. It's like, is it just me? And super agreeable opinion. I'm just like, oh my god. You're just baiting. You're just baiting people to agree with you. Like that's all. That's all that is.
But one interesting thing to note here is that this wasn't the only FTK.
More of a
that was
Jesse
like this.
Perez
There was
guy.
Eternity FTK and Trickstar Handloop. Now, while not the best versions of making use of Firewall Dragon, what you're probably starting to notice is the sheer variety that Firewall was able to offer, an offer a certain type of Yu-Gi-Oh player cannot refuse.
Ice cream tastes
No,
good.
they-
What
they
the fuck?
definitely, there was a
No
design
way.
oversight, because what happens with cards like Firewall Dragon is, you're essentially shoehorning the design process where you can no longer print certain cards because cards like Firewall exist. So I just think it was a big oversight. At the time when links became legal, they thought that it would limit.
This is kind of a fairy tale. There's no confirmation of this, but it's implied, or people say, rumor, this is a giga rumor, that the company behind the licensing of what's called of all the anime stuff, like, you know, they would be the holder of like Firewall Dragon. Shueisha are like responsible for all this bullshit. Like they print a lot of like promos, or like they have say. I don't think they intentionally designed a broken card or anything, but they don't really like there's no people say there's no design team behind them. I'm really sure that's coming because there's no other reason. Yeah, but like my explanation's not very good. So I just know that people say Shueisha is responsible for Firewall Dragon being what it was. I know that they're responsible for S0, but I don't know why, or you know, if it's because they actually don't know how to design cards, or they just print cards and then whatever happens, you know. Vrilla, Radga Firewall, hello. Bro. No, I don't know. I'm just saying it's a rumor. It's a disclaimer, but like, what were the conspiracies around Air Neos before we showed that it was legal issue? Oh, there's a lot of Air Neos conspiracies. One, there was like the airplane, like it was like Air Neos. People brought up the Air Neos airplane. There was like no one. I don't think people did mention a legal thing, but no one thought like a comic book artist at the time. Firewall did nothing wrong. I didn't know Shueisha was tied. I don't think Shueisha is tied to card design. I just thought they printed promos, or like they. But if you know, let me know, because that's like I said, it's a giga rumor. I don't actually. It's probably misinformation. We will never know what actually happened. Yeah. Was it confirmed it was because of Cognitive? Yeah. We finally got like the. Underworld Goddess? Nothing wrong with Underworld Goddess.
What some of the crazier decks
I
were
mean,
doing
she scares a
beforehand.
lot of people,
In
but
actuality, it was the complete opposite. They just kept printing more and more broken links.
I actually
Crazy
designed all the
examples that
YouTube.
we had, you know, not even a year prior. Think about like double to triple Beatrice, or like a single Beatrice, or like a pendulum summon, something in that respect. Like those at least had some forms of interaction. Whereas if you were playing a link deck and you had Firewall, you're only using it for evil, like maybe U-linking or something. We saw that with Goki before we even got into FTKs. So yeah, I think it was just a big oversight in terms of Konami R&D.
Nonsense hand loops, turn skips. Firewall Dragon had the ability to facilitate anything you really could
Stop
imagine.
showing this
The only person
combo.
seemingly
The stupid Inferni combo. 3 FTK tops 1 format. Dino Groundswell, Firewall deck out, burn, hand loop, Trickstar, hand or burn. Firewall, burn, help. Okay, bro. If I was a Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, I have no idea what the fuck you just said. Even if I understood these individual words, this does not form a sentence.
Wind of this really early.
Actually, this time entirety of the runic archetype. Thank you,
Never.
Never.
MSTTV, asking directly for Firewall to be addressed, nipping it in the bud ASAP. And in September 2017, Konami would begin to perform a pattern that would be recurring for years to come in multiple different
Master
formats
Duel
of different
Brain.
cards. They would not be addressing the problem card of Firewall, but they would start banning all of the cards around Firewall that caused the problem. Here, Konami banned Daigusto Emerald, they banned Zodiac
Yeah, they
Bronco,
banned the fuck out of this. No, Daigusto. Oh, yeah. I didn't know Lithosagam was fucking banned. I thought it was limited.
Denglong, True King, Lithosagam, And of course, Grand Soil himself.
I need to do a
Lord
TCG3.
Firewall Dragon got
I keep
more
forgetting.
cards banned in its debut format, in its debut event, than Crystron Halqifibrax got banned in its entire lifespan.
Bruh, sorry, I forgot.
Circuit break.
Okay, this is the Borreload. What was introduced? Was it more Gokis? I forgot, but I know Borreload Dragon's the cover card.
In 2016, 2 years prior, the set Dark Illusion had some very popular new decks: Paleozoic, Metalfoes, and it even had the notorious.
Is Yummy coming to
original
empty? It's strongly implied. It's not confirmed yet, but it is very 99%, 0.999% implied to arrive next month.
Absolutely broken. A sentiment that has been echoed many times with regards to every TCG deck for the
W?
last 5 years. But this truly was the case. The Spyro deck had a lot of utility and versatile ways of playing the game. It had a lot of removal tools with Spyro Tough. And
Trust me,
Agent, and it-
if it doesn't come January, I'll say this much. If it doesn't come January, I'll quit my job.
also had a lot of swarm potential with quick fix and very few hard ones per turn restrictions, especially on their reborns. And then it actually finally happened. The one card they were looking for. Circuit
You got
Break
the Yummy
brought
Hive
TCG
list.
Spiral Double Helix. At YCS Dallas in October 2017, Spiral went on to co-link its way into a 29 out of 32 top cut spot finish. At YCS London in 2017, a few weeks later, Spiral took 27 of the 32 top cut spots, with Jesse Cotton picking up the
You just
first
killed the
of
cat
many
at this
future
point.
YCS wins, with Spiral at London and Imran Khan taking YCS Dallas with, again, Spiral.
I hope in a Royal Cup
I'd love to
seat,
give
nice.
some
You better put
dramatic
points into
example
Yummy
of
or
the
I'll
dominance
follow.
of an
I
archetype.
might build Yummy. I'm going in with 5k gems. But if they come out with Vanquish Soul stuff and K9 stuff, I'll have to craft them then. Like, I won't be able to get them the week of, though, because I think I have to earn all the month gems of January to actually afford the deck. No love for free.
Type. The ability to take down an entire.
You want
deck
Yummy
with
to
90%
not
top
come to
representation.
January?
But the reality is, like, this is not unprecedented. This is probably the
Oh,
fourth
Hajime.
time it's happened in Yu-Gi-Oh's history.
Need your
So
account for
Bonaparte,
Draco
Teledac-
Tail and Yummy and K9 VS? Are you just buying all the accessories? You just decided? That's fine. You can do that.
Necros, literally
I'm
the year before
10K
the
plus
US
gems right
32 out
now.
of 32
How do you
top
do
spots
it,
on the
bro?
opening weekend. This is just kind of Yu-Gi-Oh at this point.
Chapter 6, the ban list.
In light of all of its success, Spiral would have Spiral Quick Fix, Drones, and Gofu all limited. Now, while this may have been consistency hits, the real hit on this was machine duplication, I suppose. You could no longer duplicate Quick Fix and go +4. Spiral ends up actually shifting into a go second deck. Perhaps
I
one of
want
the fewest
K-Gem.
rare times this has ever actually happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! Firewall Dragon remains an important piece of the deck, although not quite as pivotal.
Oh,
There was
yeah,
one
or
deck that was
Chalice.
actually utilizing Firewall in a very niche yet degenerate way. That deck was Trickstars. The deck was a sort of anti-meta pick.
You'll need to open Mikanko bundle.
Because of the metagame and
Okay, I was so sure we get Mikanko this week. But it... now I have egg on my face.
Reincarnation, looping your opponent's hand entirely of all that they have.
I'm kinda
Meaning that
dead,
your
alright?
first is also
Alright.
really powerful with a control.
Oh, if
To
you can
use summon a
chill, get
monster
some
with
rest.
1600 attack, Trickstar had a very silly way to OTK you for multiple games worth of damage. You crash the Licorice into a monster with
Oh my god, yeah, this is the Lilybell OTK. You just poke for Lilybells repeatedly, you crash another guy, and then... So Lilybell attacks directly, adds back Lilybell, a second copy of Lilybell in the graveyard, and then you crash the Lilybell so that the... I believe it's crash the Lilybell, so Firewall Dragon special summons the Lilybell in hand, and then you Lilybell poke again, re-add the Lilybell you just crashed, and then... All the stupid bundles I need to buy... Start buying the wallpapers.
1600 or more attack, killing.
What's that 2011 sleeve? Top 1000? I don't know. This looks really... I can't even read that. Wait, actually, what is the quality on this bullshit? Oh. Ooh. Probably pack at the end of the month? Alright.
Lilybell. Lilybell's effect would trigger on damage, adding the Licorice from the graveyard back to the hand. You then tag the Lilybell out of the fire.
Oh, it's licorice! That's even funnier.
For Licorice. Resummon the Lilybell to the firewall zone and repeat the process until one of you runs out of life points. And so eventually, to stop further silly but inconsistent and non-competitive combos, Firewall would be limited to one copy.
For some reason, I thought licorice was main phase only. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes way more sense. I kind of like that 2011 Steve. Nice. You really like it. Okay.
More triple Firewall loops and combos utilizing multiple summons and grave returns with all three legal. Before now, Firewall wouldn't do a whole lot until World Chalice took first place at YCS Bochum 2018 in February. In a format of Pendulum Magician, this was definitely...
I think most people agree that the World Chalice thing was a fluke, though. But it is kind of funny. Example of Firewall pulling some bullshit.
A fluke. While Pen Magician was summoning S0, a talented player who's very passionate about a very specific archetype, ended up taking it all down with World Chalice. It would sadly not come into the meta as a real deck despite this historic victory. Regardless, Firewall was a massive aspect of this deck, spamming the field and flooding the board with all of the link fodder to be able to then go into more...
Call by the Grave at
monsters.
3?
It's
Yeah,
nice.
wasn't it at 3 in this format? When did Bell get when did Bell come out? Bell Wikipedia. Cuz they came around the time Flames of Destruction. So that's Imperm called by Bell. There's probably one more that I'm Red Reboot. Yes. Red reboot. Okay, Flames of Destruction's later.
Integral part of the
Was it
strategy to
Nightmare in
demonstrate
that
just the
too?
absolute versatility that Firewall Dragon offered to any combo style deck in Yu-Gi-Oh at the time.
Chapter
Or
7.
was that
the
Maximum
Nightmare.
Crisis?
On May 3rd, 2018.
Oh, there's
Flames-
Flames of Destruction. Okay, it is Nightmares. Okay, yeah. All right. Unk still got it.
of Destruction was released. Every extra deck in the game ever got an immense power boost.
This was insane. This is finally we got 2 monsters. Basically, links that could summon 2 monsters. And then they actually did shit. Like Phoenix popping back row. Not even Xyz had that. I don't know when we got Tornado Dragon, but it took a fucking long time. We had a link climb interaction, you know. Pop back row, go into Unicorn, and then shuffle a card from the field. That is strong too. All those links are legal currently in MD. Yes. Even Goblin. I never got a chance to use Goblin back in the day, but no, he was there. He was pretty formidable.
Nightmare extra deck monsters. They were both removal tools and combo pieces. Nightmares were some of the first truly powerful link monsters, ultimately ended up breaking Firewall. Not only did they have incredible effects for going second and extremely easy summoning requirements, their link arrows were specifically designed in order to co-link, locking your
You
opponent
can
out
use
of
him
special
now?
summon. Add to the
Bro,
top
he's dicks.
this mix of good floating bodies that could replenish the resources in hand from
Goki.
Firewall and float from the grave to endlessly summon. You
For
had
what it's worth, Gokis were already introduced in Code of the Duelist, if I remember. They just needed a critical mass of guys that added to hand and added each other.
a recipe for link spam disaster. It is one of the most undervalued sentiments
true.
in the community just how impactful these nightmares were. These nightmares were the first generic extra deck monsters open to any deck in the game. Literally every archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh could play Phoenix to destroy spells and traps, Cerberus to hit a special summoned monster, and Unicorn to spin away cards without triggering grave effects. The sheer ease of access of the nightmares, coupled with everything mentioned before, meant that these may have been the most versatile extra deck monsters ever made. No level requirement, and basically no real summoning condition other than the materials required to summon them. Tokens, non-effect monsters, you could make nightmares with anything. And this is how they would launch our new Wrestler Overlords into the position of potential best deck. With cards like
Oh,
Super
man,
X, which is
90%
both a starter
because
to go into
it's a
Isolde,
TK
as
is
well as an
true.
extender when used as an additional normal
Unleashing
summon from
Mermaid?
Nightmare
Yeah, that
Goblin.
was-
Headback allowed you to
that was
extend,
crazy.
and all of them floated into Goki Rematch, a monster reborn for 2. It is no surprise that this deck was able to push Firewall Dragon into overdrive. This deck extra linked your opponent, it gave you a negate from Trigate Wizard, it gave the opponent Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, which made them unable to special except for links, which wasn't possible because you extra linked them. It dropped non-co-linked monsters attack from Mermaid by 1,000, and it gave the board protection from battle, card effects, and targeting with all of the nightmares respectively. On top of all that, it was incredibly consistent due to any 2 warriors being full combo. Goki was everything the average casual player would complain.
Yeah, fuck this. Fuck Goki. I think Sky Strikers gets introduced later, around this point. But fuck Goki.
About long drawn out exhaustive combos, inability to interact with all the targeting and destruction protection, hand loops with Gumblar Dragon. And it was so hard
Oh,
to
fuck
stop-
Gumblar too. I was actually summoning Magnus with Gumblar, but it's all because of Isolde. I was using Isolde to. Oh yeah, Magical Midbreaker Field.
this deck, they had access to staples like Midbreaker, a field spell protecting your monsters from being targeted or destroyed from hand traps. And this was the year Call by the Grave was released, an auto-win button for any combo deck going first versus hand traps. You would need at least 2 hand traps to stop Goki going second, provided that they didn't manage to still play through Extend and rip the rest of the cards out of your
Yeah.
hand with Gumblar. In June 2018 at YCS Secaucus, Goki somehow only managed to take 6 spots out of the top 32. The other decks of choice for a couple of
Yeah,
upcoming
Sky Striker. Sky Striker. Yeah, Sky Striker.
events was actually Trickstar Sky Striker. Some other strategies as well cropped up like ABC. Spiral was also abusing Firewall Dragon and Nightmares at the time. This was around the time a certain Triff Gaming came to prominence with his stick to the game plan triple Electromite Firewall OTK multi-negate deck.
Stick to the game plan. 3 electrons, Firewall in the middle. Exodia.
The infamous 60 card pendulum deck was
Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Okay.
a powerhouse. And while not eventually becoming the most popular way to play Pendulum, it did sort of facilitate a lot of the kind of criminal acts of 2018. Long turn 1 combos and multiple special summonings and spamming of these crazy new link monsters like the Electromites. Now, despite a seemingly slow start for Goki, it would win both the North American WCQ and the European WCQ.
I like-
Similar
I like-
representations for
there's
top cut,
Infirm.
about a third each. And yet
Did it
still,
stick to the
it
game
was more
plan? Yeah,
impressive
yeah.
than Europe, as
Activate
Europe was
circular,
missing key
summon
components
Sigma,
like the
add
Link
Allen
Monster
version,
with Link Karibo being exclusive
add
to the European
diameter,
region. Yet Europeans
and
still
then
adapted and it
I'll
shows just how
link
powerful
them
this
all
deck
off
was
for
despite
Firewall
the
Pass.
handicap. Luke Parks piloted a creative tech of the Neospatian Aqua Dolphin, the inclusion of which was popularized at the North American WCQ a couple of weeks prior. This could remove hand traps from the opponent before you began to combo off, and it inflicted burn damage, an effect which would be integral to the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh's tournament gameplay until...
Yeah, see,
well,
the Scapegoat. I wasn't lying. I told you guys. Scapegoat. Right there. I think Terraforming was still at 3. When did it get limited? It probably got limited before. Never mind. But yeah, Scapegoat.
It inflicted burn damage, an effect which would be integral to the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh's tournament gameplay until, well, actually until this year.
With 10 seconds left until the end of the match.
And we actually get a live countdown from the crowd. It was counting down what's going to happen in the finals.
Chapter 8, the Firewall Riots.
Oh
was
my
around the
god.
time-
Why is this even being talked about? I mean, like, this is one of the worst, like, one of the worst behaved the Yu-Gi-Oh community has been in, like, recent memory. I don't even think the vomit horse comes close. It's annoying as fuck, and I think it's gross. But this is actually this is a blemish on the community. Like, I want to see some indictments, bruh.
Finally, we're getting sick and tired of FTKs, the combo,
Behave.
and Firewall Dragon. They took it to social media, and it would get progressively worse.
FTKs are not really fun. Can you please emergency ban Firewall Dragon or something? I have played against nothing but FTK variants all day and it's draining. Would love the meta otherwise. Thanks, a concerned player. All right, bruh.
Forcing Konami to wipe out the entire.
What
concept.
happened? So basically, people wanted Firewall banned, right? And what they did was, okay, there's the social media stuff, but they also called Konami department. Like, they didn't even call like a ban list. They just straight up cold called Konami and kept flooding them with phone calls. Yeah, this post is fine and whatever. I think it's the, like, basically harassing people. What's it called? That probably aren't even involved in the Forbidden Limited promises. And, like,
sections of multiple posts and mediums. No one was hopeful as players had theorized that Firewall would not be touched.
I guess it worked. I don't think I think it already was gonna get banned. Like, I forgot who banned it first. It might have been the OCG or whatever. I don't think it did anything. I think that's why that pisses me off, because I'm pretty sure it was getting banned anyway. People were just, like, kicking their feet, slamming their fists on the floor. Oh my god.
The Vrain's protagonists at the time.
Konami tech
As a form of promoting their new anime and products, people assumed that due to it being an important part of the anime, Konami would simply not ban Firewall. In September 2018, the ban list came, and once again, cards around Firewall would be hit instead of addressing the actual problem. The ban list would purge the format of MX Saber Invoker, Goblin, causing the Goki combo to be a bit harder to execute and more consistent, now shifting over to playing Armageddon Knight and Malicious to make a Zolde, and further iteration upon the Summon Sorceress.
Yeah. If OCG banned it first, then, like, sure. Okay, maybe it didn't get banned in this ban list. I don't remember. Unk memory.
Despite this, it was still quite strong.
But I'm pretty
considering
sure,
that
like,
three YCSs taking part simultaneously across all 3 regions of the West, it would take 15.
I'm pretty sure, like, the TCG just can't ban an ace card like that. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of red tape you have to unravel. I cannot download the game. Can you please turn off your firewall? Okay.
The top 64 at Columbus, 8 out of the top
That is a
64 at
tech
Utrecht,
support
4 out
question.
of 64 in Mexico City. And one of the most amusing hits of this ban list would be limiting a Assault Core. This was supposed to remove the Cannon Soldier FTK aspect from the game. Cannon Soldier being a monster that can tribute a monster that it points to burn your opponent for damage. And because of all of the things mentioned previously with Firewall Dragon summoning monsters from the hand, you could essentially create infinite fodder for Cannon Soldier. And yet, ironically enough, a more powerful version of this came to the front. On October 20, 2018, in the written feature of YCS Niagara, Jeff Jones versus Hanko Chow, this would be the earliest iteration we'd see of the Danger FTK. The Danger is released in Cybernetic Horizon, Nessie, Jackalope, Chupacabra, Bigfoot received an additional wave support in Soul Fusion with Tsuchinoko, Dogman, and Thunderbird 2 days prior to the event. The Danger monsters were extremely powerful monsters at the time. They were bodies that allowed you to draw a card, special summon from the hand by discarding, but all of the Dangers had grave effects, most of which would net you more advantage, like summoning from the deck with Jackalope, summoning from the grave with Chupacabra, or removing...
God, he's so ugly. Holy shit.
Bigfoot and Thunderbird.
Oh, I never got a good look at him. He looks kind of cute. I like him.
And of course, they all triggered when discarded from, you guessed it, the Nightmares. And so this was an incredibly powerful engine for going first and second.
It was really good because it put to use the additional monsters that you would get.
Jeff Jones,
So
yeah,
it's,
Jeff
you know,
Jones
something
is
like you're drawing 4 cards, which
his
turned out to
exploits
be,
are
probably one of the better ways to use those cards.
have made their mark
You
on
had the
Yu-Gi-Oh
option to
history.
convert them into Firewall, and then without even getting into the FTK, you were just able to generate a bunch of bodies, and then sort of threaten like a U-Link, or it could just be your Firewall bouncing 3 cards instead of 1 card that you sort of see today. I think.
Why does all the Danger monsters look ugly? Yeah, why don't they look like Pureleys?
Good stuff deck. You would just make Tomahawk.
Why do the cryptids?
This is what was the tipping point for Firewall Dragon. This feature
Nessie's
was
not
pure despair
ugly.
over what was
Yeah,
to come. It ended up losing in the finals to Goki, but it was incredibly scary because now people had discovered the Danger's ability to flood the board, spam, all while drawing through your whole deck. And so, that incident finally happened. Round 1 of YCS London 2018. This feature would become somewhat of a stain on the Yu-Gi-Oh community for quite some time, showing how absolutely absurd the Firewall FTK really became, and also the bizarre decision to have a multi-YCS champion world's competitor.
They should make them
versus a
cute anime
trial
girls
as a feature
instead,
match.
bruh.
That was a decision that was made.
The YCS London 2018 feature match is a match that is going to live in infamy forever. It's where I FTK a child. But you see, I don't just FTK children.
Yeah,
I FTK
Tsuchinoko is
everybody.
definitely super
And
cute.
my philosophy is to treat each duelist the same, because I think it's an injustice to do otherwise, especially in a competitive setting like a YCS. If it were a different circumstance, different environment, then perhaps different, but I think treating people with respect of playing properly is important, and that's what I was going for.
From this point on, people would tweet Konami daily, praying for a firewall ban. Konami's Facebook flooded with comments. YouTube forced to deactivate the comment section on every upload. There was even a community-organized template for an email or letter that was encouraged to be forwarded to Konami to ask them to remove firewall from the game. Every single marketing post or Facebook engagement bait asking for something like, "What's your favorite gold start target?" would be flooded over with 100 comments each, demanding firewall.
And we
ban.
actually observed this too. We've observed this in recent, you know, like, this is actually is not like, that's why I kind of roll my eyes when I see that shit. Like the vomiting horse, I just roll my eyes because I've seen this shit like by like every fucking like every social media frenzy. There was another one. There was another ban list frenzy that happened like a year ago. We saw this with the horse instead, but that was a couple years ago. There was another one a year before that, right?
Banned. As someone who had lived through this period in time, I cannot
Probably
tell
made
how
Konami not consider
ridiculous
doing stuff
the
like
social
that.
media
That's
outcry
why
was.
I think part of it, that's why they probably don't communicate as much. I mean, people will say like, oh, maybe they should communicate better or something, but I don't know. I feel like communication is a two-way street, you know? You gotta, like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that the Yu-Gi-Oh community has done that, like, gives me reason to believe that, what's called? I'm not saying Konami, like, does not, what's it called? You know, is not responsible or anything for this, but like, but behind the veil, there's like, you know, individuals who like have to manage this stuff, and then like, it's probably not worth it to those individuals. It has not been really. I thought the horse was a couple years ago. Maybe half a year ago, sure, okay, fine, or at least a year.
Left, right, and center, anything on any Konami page ever, regardless of the platform, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, people were just spamming the comment sections, demanding Firewall be banned. And admittedly, perhaps it was a bit of a bandwagon where people just kind of joined in for the sake of it because grr Konami and stuff. I think people really took Firewall Dragon to be this culmination of all of the problems of Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, and so vented their frustration at how powerful
It was in
the game was and how
2025?
powerful Yu-Gi-Oh
Okay.
had become during 2018 throughout this time period, most of which perhaps could be attributed to Firewall, but also a lot of the different things surrounding it, like Penned Magician FTK earlier in the year, something that may be a subject for a future video. Somebody had even suggested to sue Konami over the false advertising of the ban list. The backlash got so bad that Josh Bavarnik asked people on Zodiac Duelist, a very prominent Facebook group at the time for Yu-Gi-Oh, to stop.
I like how he says
Konami
very
copying-
prominent. This is actually a very popular Facebook group, but there's a lot of ways to describe Zodiac Duelist. There's a lot. It's okay. The way I describe Zodiac Duelist, you know how you know, like, you pick up a rock and you see a bunch of bugs crawling underneath. Shit you've never seen. Oh my god. Okay, Zodiac Duelist is like, if you think Twitter's bad, I think Zodiac Duelist is one of the worst.
a fairly prominent member of the judge program, although not actually an employee or official representative.
Max
Happened to
DD
be
in real
part of
time.
this. And so it would get
Yeah.
even worse when Konami posted a Legacy of the Duelist trailer with Firewall Dragon as the main feature, as well as a poll about which card is a better floodgate on Facebook. The community perceived
change
this
the
almost as
splash
a
mage?
mockery by Konami
Oh
by
my
just how
God.
out of touch this communication was. Back at YCS London, the deck was incredibly dominant. It had such a low representation that in the early rounds it was classified as rogue and other. But by round 9 there were still 20 players running this deck, and it was so powerful, Team Samurai X1 ended up topping with it as well.
What I really look back on in terms of decks with high power level output, like Gurki, like the Danger FTK, I guess you can even argue, well, maybe not the Rocket deck, they didn't use Firewall, but what really came from those decks was high ceiling and not really technical play, but they were the first part of like freestyle combo. Alternatively, like Gurki had like actual combo lines, right? And we didn't really have decks like that beforehand. They were more like freestyle, but they weren't, you know, crazy power level output. You sort of only needed to know like 1 or 2 steps. And I think that's where the underrepresentation came from. You also had a lot of people who would view decks like Gurki or the Danger FTK as inconsistent, and they would opt for a deck like Sky Striker or maybe Pure Thunder Dragon. I'm just trying to think if there were any. I guess like Alter Guys was like another deck in that sort of format. So yeah, they would default to stuff like that.
Dude, I hated playing as Alter Guys because I'm not playing any YCS. I'm playing in fucking like simulators. Alter Guys was so fucking annoying. When they got fucking Multi-Faker, I was like, I'm out. I'm out. 1.8 seconds.
more consistent. Power level wasn't as good, but you got to play more games and you weren't breaking. And I think it was only during COVID, maybe like post-COVID, where people sort of played the more unfair, higher power level output decks, and like Konami design sort of like met them at parity, where they would just continue to you know, print these really ridiculous decks that would have high ceilings and just require you to memorize, like, I have to do this, 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 and to this. And I think Goki and, you know, the Danger FTK sort of just ended up being the original, like, those decks.
This is one of those representation versus conversion discussions. Not a lot of people were actually playing Firewall FTK for these events, and yet it was converting numbers like never before seen in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. A real handful of players entering a tournament, and yet almost all of them made deep runs into at least day 2, many of them topping the event. Admittedly, some of the best players in the world at the time were running this archetype and this deck and this strategy, so naturally it's going to gravitate towards more success there, but it must be emphasized how ridiculous it is for such a high conversion rate, despite such a low population turnout for a deck. It's one of those things that perhaps people didn't really hop on to the hype with because it only got second place, and naturally, fallacy of the Babe Ruth effect, people naturally want to play the best deck, the first place deck. Danger FTK was incredibly powerful due to cards like Azathoth, a generic enough monster to access with 2 level 4s, turning off all
Oh my
monster effects your
God.
opponent can use this turn. That means no hand traps and no more responses when going second.
I think I saw someone, I don't know which chat said it, was like, who wants Azathoth to come back? They didn't start an argument or anything like that, but I thought it was pretty funny. That card is fucked up.
Second. The only way to consistently stop this deck was to very specifically draw Infinite Impermanence, a trap card usable from the hand, and negate Firewall Dragon since you couldn't use monster effects, holding it for when they had summoned it. And yet this deck still had ways to play through that. Nightmare Unicorn could shuffle away your own Firewall or Cannon Soldier, and
Yeah.
then summon it to continue with the combo. Admittedly, that would require an insane hand, but this was an insane deck.
The Danger Dark World FTK deck was one of the strongest decks I've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh! What it allowed you to do was FTK the opponent with incredible ease. But the truth is, in that deck, Firewall Dragon was not the only offender, as once Firewall Dragon was banned, FTKs were still viable without it. They were just harder. The thing is, the deck can be broken up into several pieces. The Firewall FTK of choice...
Unlock the Shock. I like Unlock the
Cannon Soldier
Shock.
alongside
It-
Grapple
it-
and Firewall. This combination meant that you could loop your Cannon Soldier infinite number of times and kill your opponent.
Oh, shoot.
The Danger deck was very good at drawing, but it also discards, so it works well with Dark World, which interbridged with the FTK. The thing is, the Danger deck could deep draw into essentially...
Oh, shoot, I
combos,
just
so
saw
you
your
can find any
message.
cool
Holy
2-3
shit.
combination, try and dig for it, and beat your opponent that way. But when they synergize together, that just makes it all neatly come up into a tier 1 or tier 0 strategy.
After YCS London, the deck did begin to fade away, be it due to players maining cards now like Droll and Lockbird, stopping you from using Dangers and switching to other decks altogether. It was still quite strong at the regional scene and of course, obnoxious to play against. Leading up to the next ban list, every social media site saw prayers to Konami for the removal of Firewall.
My bad.
So, on November 30th, we got the ban list.
Nothing was limited. We just woke up. Firewall's banned, baby. So am I, but like whatever. At least Firewall's banned, baby.
Here it is.
Firewall Dragon is banned. That'll probably be the title of this video because who cares about anything else?
I'm not seeing any bans here. Gumblar isn't banned. Never mind. Gumblar's not banned. This is so sad, Alexa. I'm still mad about that. They did it! Yu-Gi-Oh! Was finally saved. If we ignore Slash Draw FTK and Wrong Dominion, but that is a topic for another day. Firewall was finally thrown into the pit of banlist despair and forgotten, and after the errata in December 2020,
This is a mail? That's a good bit.
Before.
It's been almost a decade since the release of Firewall Dragon. Yet, if that card was released with its full and old effects today, it would
That
still
was
have
probably
the effect
Fax
on
Machine,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
bruh.
That card was truly a menace, and it enabled so many things that really should not be capable in a card game. And even at the points where it did exist and the format was fine,
I
some of
have
the
witnessed
others
fax
or tactical
machine
cards didn't make
communication
Firewall Dragon playable.
in the
So
modern
Dragon's
day.
Behind is one of pain for me, where it feels like it ruined what otherwise could have been good formats, and it dominated many metagames. And it did so in ways that were really not fair, and I'm happy to see it gone. Of course, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! May have its problems, and we have very often bad formats, but at least Firewall isn't contributing to make them any worse.
Today, you'll see Firewall Dragon being used exclusively for its intended purposes, an extender of a Cyberse monster, once per turn, and no longer relying on filling the grave with key floodgates or FTK enablers to recycle to the hand. Instead, Firewall is being used to actually disrupt your opponent and not FTK them. During this time period, people kind of saw Firewall Dragon as this emblem, this symbol for everything that had gotten wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout 2018. Strange new summoning mechanics that they had not grown up with before. Long, drawn-out turn 1 combos, FTKs, sitting there watching your opponent draw their entire deck. The embarrassingly poor communication from Konami, failure to address feedback, and of course, the wildly overtuned card design of this year. I mean, we had seen Electromite, Penned Magician FTK with S0, Firewall. 2018 was a bit of a disaster for how powerful cards had become. And yet, perhaps this could be seen as a case of a loud minority. 2018 across the board was a record-breaking year for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! By all metrics, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was completely flourishing. It was booming like no other year previously. Highest attendance...
That was my
in the
old
European
boss? Holy
Championship, the
shit.
North American Championship. Most players attending an EU YCS, an NA YCS, a Latin American YCS. Every metric was being broken in 2018, and yet, if it was that bad, why were people still playing in their droves? So in hindsight, what can we really say about Firewall Dragon in 2018? Was it really that bad? Let me know in the comment section down below.
I think it was still bad, bruh. Just because you had... I don't know why he's trying to be like, yeah, we had record broken. This totally negates the effect Firewall Dragon had on the...
much everyone for watching. A lot of effort went into this one, so please consider leaving a like, a comment, and engaging with the video and channel by subscribing. If you want to see more of this long form,
I don't know. I don't think there's much room for disagreement. I mean, for most people answering, they probably haven't even played during that era. So, most fortune for the guest appearance of Gage and Eminem Poljack. Okay, did he even appear? I thought he just voiced a couple things. Firewall Files. All right, this isn't even that funny. This isn't even that's it's not even good. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Damn. I have a sneaky suspicion that the Jesse versus 10-year-old pub zombie was put to air because the TCG side was so tired of Firewall being legal. They were like, let's make as available of a decision with a plausible deniability as possible so that enough backlash to get this stupid card banned. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Konami of America was already on board with like banning it or whatever. I don't know. There's stories about like KOA speaking with Japan, you know, KOJ, and them not, you know, them being like whatever about like any concerns they bring up. So I don't know. I'm not gonna point blame or anything like that, but yeah, they're just rumors. Okay. Let's see. All right, Firewall video done. All right, Joshua Schmidt, should Ash be banned? I was made aware that this was the what's called
with people on my stream.
Nirod used to sway with Konami and Lavia to keep Firewall legal. All right, so this isn't the stream version. The stream version is kind of that one was weird to sit through because he was getting one guide crazy. Well, it was by Herman, which is like a reputable player, but like
already, and I wanted to make a more structured video.
Maybe this video will give him a chance to. I feel like what Herman was disagreeing with wasn't even like that bad either. Maybe it was just like Twitch, you know, I don't know. Herman was communicating through Twitch chat, and then there's like a bunch of people like also chatting at the same time, so maybe there was some miscommunication there. Anyway, the point is he has a video, one of his like, you know, sit the camera, no chat, no stream, probably. I'll figure out. To be honest, I don't like for Ash to 2. I don't think we really need to come up with a reason for why it's at 2. It's at 2, so be it. But if it's like, okay, Ash to 2 got hit, is this good? Should it go to 0 or 1? That I feel like that's more interesting to talk about, and I imagine that's kind of what I got from the live stream. But to be honest, I don't really care too much.
And
Herman wasn't excited about Charmies being focused.
The concept
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I can understand that because it's kind of like a band-aid. Like Charmies, for what you know, for better or for worse, they do they have some balancing aspects, but it is just a lingering effect that you apply to most situations. Like there's a little bit more decision making you can make, but for the most part, like I don't know what else you could do. You can't really make them 1-for-1 hand traps or anything like that. Maybe you could. There's Gamma, but that has its own issues too. Gamma I like a lot. But people do use it to protect their insulate their own plays, so that's kind of rough.
Aging very poorly, and I want to look at this a little bit in general, but most importantly with the most recent semi-limit of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring in the OCG, and I want to talk about a little bit why I think that was such a good hit, and maybe try to bring across the concept of why Ash Blossom has not aged.
I don't know. For me, the Ash hit is like kind of in the realm of like, it does have effects on the game, but it's kind of like for me, I can't really divine a reason besides it reminds me of SP semi. Even SP limit is like, buh. So I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I don't feel like I can. It's just a whatever hit. If it got banned, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Then I'm like, oh shit.
As well as people think it has.
More Fimenas. Fimena's not that easy to interact with either. Like you need called by for most parts. Like what's interesting about Fimena is it doesn't on its own. Like you need a additional card, so it's not like one card. Like, but it actually is hard to interact with. Well, no, not hard to interact. Well, it's just like you kind of have to. It generates a lot of advantage when it resolves too.
I think putting it to 2 or even lower in future ban lists would be a phenomenal hit for the TCG as well. And I'm mainly doing this because people seem to be.
I think Izuna is pretty nice. I like Izuna a lot. Izuna San Lupus. That's like not bad. But it's just tied with Ripper that makes me annoyed because you can also use it going first.
Even though I tried to explain why I think it's a good hit in my OCG banlist reaction video, but I felt like iterating over it more is something that I should do because people still ask those kind of questions as to why I think Ash Blossom is a card that should be hit on the ban list. Of course, people asking questions of like why I think Ash Blossom is a completely fair card. Why should it get hit? You know, it's a hand trap, so it helps the player going second, obviously, right? And that's a couple of things I want to talk about. Before we hop in, I want to just rant a little bit about the general concept of cards aging badly in Yu-Gi-Oh! And what I mean by this, what I mean when I say this, is that sometimes a card is printed with a certain idea in mind, and it does just fine for.
Is it fine? It's hard to interact with. Well, it's not just by meta. It's also like triggering. It's like literally triggering like if they have Urgamel, it's popping a guy. The fusion it's summoning. You know, Gargamel is also popping a dude, and it's also setting back row, or your whole like your engine is online as well. Like, and even it's hard to interact with doesn't have to be literally called by. Like, I guess the one saving grace is its main phase lock, so you can actually do stuff during your main phase, like afterwards potentially. So that's not the worst, but it is like in Draco Tail, it is probably one of the most like I'm okay with allowing 5 mana to resolve, but like all the other things you can't interact with. It's like it's like the guys chain block the Arthalion. You can't even like impermit either because you can't like because you'll control monster. You can't like bell it or anything like that. I guess you can go Mourner or something like that, but that's what I mean. Like fusion summons are freaking annoying when they pull that shit off. The yin yang meme about Yasha's really? Oh, okay. I guess I see it.
The time that it's released in. Popular examples of cards that were...
I guess what I like is setting background turn 1's fine. That's true actually, because we do have the furniture. We do have the furniture, and that's not that egregious.
Were completely fine when they were printed, but
I
then ended up
this
aging
girl
very
and her
poorly.
dog
We're not
together.
gonna go over
Okay,
every single
Orbs.
example. You can probably pick a card from almost any time of Yu-Gi-Oh's lifespan.
Literally,
and
most upvoted posts on fucking r/anime memes. Yeah, we get it, Orbs, we get it. Oh my god. Josh's hair looks like plastic, bruh. Like Ken?
That has aged poorly, but some of my favorite examples of this are Anti-Spell Fragrance, because this card came out in 2004, or 2003 actually, as you can see down here. And in a time, of course, where Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a lot slower, and it wasn't actually that big of a deal having to set your spells first, this card didn't see any play for the longest time of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s lifespan.
Yeah, this card was ass.
This card was or 15 when
dicks.
Pendulum entered the fray, which is 12 years after it was printed. Before then, it was only very rare.
That was so fucking nasty, though. I really, like... this card actually shut down a whole mechanic, and it continued to do that. This was also like kind of, oh god, I forgot about it. You can't even set pendulum scales because of this card. And then since then, I think, I mean, it probably had a reputation of being a floodgate a little bit earlier than that. But I think from there, it became obvious. Like, okay, this is what you use this for. It's banned in Master Duel, right? This is gone. We don't have to worry about this MF. But yeah, definitely old, very, very poorly aged card. This card was dicks, and now it's back to, oh my god.
Early played, and the uses for this card were actually quite cool in the beginning. And believe it or not, like one of the ways this card was used was in Gladiator Beasts, where forcing your opponent to set their power spells and then summoning Gladiator Beast Geyseris or Gladiator Beast Bestiari to pop it was like a genuine strategy that was pretty cool at the time. But of course, the introduction of Pendulum, but also just the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh has gotten faster and faster over the years, has turned this card into basically a game-ending turn skip immediately, which is why it has aged very poorly and is now basically an auto-win button in a lot of formats, which has gotten it limited, but a lot of people are arguing, of course, it should be banned. And then another, of course, even more prevalent example is Maxi. You know, a card that, believe it or not, was absolutely fine when it came out in 2011. I know it's hard to imagine for people nowadays, but for the longest time, Maxi was a completely fine and balanced card that for multiple...
I remember in, I think it was Monarch format, when the Monarch structure deck was introduced, people cited it. People were... that deck actually gave you only like one draw. And then there was like online debates whether you played this or not. I think it was around Zodiac when it became egregious. I remember Jesse cited when Maxi got limited, it was like a bitch because at that point you could decide not to play outs to it, and then if it because it's at 1, there's probably no reason to play outs to it, and then if it resolves on you, because it will, because you decided to play no outs, you can't do shit. Which I think is a really really annoying as fuck dynamic. Because, like, you're playing outs to a limited card when probably... I think, in my opinion, you probably shouldn't be. But then it resolves on you and you're just like, what the fuck?
Formats, after it's been printed, didn't even make its way into every single main deck. Like, people would either side deck this card or not play it at all in certain formats because it just wasn't good against every deck. And it was more like a... It was meant to be more like a punish to...
Wait till they print Max Circular. And then you'll wish Maxi comes back. I don't know what that would do, but it's a combination of two of your most hated cards. So I'm gonna let your imagination do the work for you.
Some strategies that were doing way too much, but it was not good against everything. And once again, this has obviously changed, and nowadays every single Yu-Gi-Oh deck special summons a lot, and you cannot afford to give up that one turn. And therefore, Maxi is a super powerful card that now finally has been limited. And the OCG is still at 2 in Master Duel, but thank God it's banned in the TCG, and hopefully should be banned anywhere soon. But that's what I mean or some of the examples that I can make when I say a card has aged poorly. And that leads us to the most recent OCG Forbidden Limited List update that has, among other things, Limited Maxi, finally, Limited Called by the Grave, and also semi-limited Ash Blossom. And when I reacted to this ban list, I said that I had been thinking about making this exact video that you're watching right now about Ash Blossom Enjoys Spring. And I talked about that a little bit already, but I still wanted to make this video and explain why. Because I think this happening actually in the OCG is a pretty good sign of Konami understanding what the concepts that I'm about to talk to you about.
Prolific
and, makes me hopeful that we will get this at some point in the TCG as well. Now, the reason why I feel like Ash Blossom Enjoys Spring has aged pretty poorly in Yu-Gi-Oh is that what this card started out as is, well, what it is, a hand trap. It was meant to give the player going second a better chance of preventing some things that the opponent was doing, and I think that is fundamentally a good idea. I think Yu-Gi-Oh as a game, I hope we can all agree that for 99.9% of Yu-Gi-Oh's lifespan, the player going first is favored. You know, it was always preferred to go first in Yu-Gi-Oh, with very, very, very few exceptions. You know, of course, they made decks like Tenpai or more recently Gem Knights, or you know, in Necros format because of Necros of Trishula, there was a period where you would make the opponent go first and stuff like that. But for the most part, with very few exceptions, going first is strong in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And a lot of their job in Yu-Gi-Oh's design team is trying to make new cards and new archetypes. Of course, that are more powerful than previous archetypes because we do not have rotation, so the only balancing tool that they have is the Forbidden Limited list as well as the new archetypes that they make. So sometimes when they make archetypes too powerful, they make them on the ban list, and then other times they just make more powerful archetypes. As a result, the player going first in Yu-Gi-Oh usually is at an advantage because decks are getting more and more powerful, and the player going first is the first one to resolve their cards, usually, right? That's, I think, the initial reasoning for hand traps to exist in the first place, right? And I think the Yu-Gi-Oh community has developed this kind of like general understanding of like, well, hand traps are healthy because the player going second should get a chance to interact with the player going first, And cards that negate hand traps, like Called by the Grave and Crossout Designator, or punish hand traps like Triple Tactics Talents by looking at their hand and taking away more copies of hand traps, generally are pretty powerful and benefit the player going first a lot, which is why a lot of people, myself included, always advocated for those cards being a bad design and they should be banned. You know, cards like Called by the Grave, even though the player going second has a chance of using it on their own turn, of course, it disproportionately favors the player going first by taking.
Yeah, I'm always
away from
happy
their
when someone
opponent. And that is,
impulses.
of course,
I'm like, okay, I don't have to
a
worry
problem.
about him.
And of course, there's some decks that suffer from hand traps. You know, some decks that are older or have bigger choke points because they're not as power crept as newer archetypes, and so there is some older decks that rely on cards like Called by the Grave to negate the opponent's hand traps. But you know, keeping a deck
that
from
was
years ago in the meta because it cannot beat like an SM.
It wasn't just anyone. Yeah. That was an hour stun lock. It was crazy. I was there too. I didn't pay attention to most of it because I was in and out, also kind of sleepy. But that wasn't just anyone. That was Herman Hansen. He's like he won one of the DCs, but he's also been like a known TCG European player. That shit was crazy. Well, it wasn't really, but like, yeah, it was like, it lasted a while. Like, I just hop back out and then hop back in like 20 minutes later, it's still going. Yeah, MD World Champ. Oh yeah, MD World Champ. Yes, MD World Champ. Yeah. Yeah, the current MD World Champ. Yeah, that wasn't just anyone. That's why I think that's why it got heated or that way. Or like got like, because if it was a chatter, Josh could just like, Josh is pretty good at shutting down chatters, like randos. But I think this was like not personal, but like someone who isn't just somebody you could just easily dismiss, you know? Or I mean, I'm pretty sure they're on good terms. It was just like a what the fuck? I can't believe you're saying this type shit. I don't know. It was I wasn't that like I said, I wasn't that like paying attention because I was surprised it went on for a while. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. The current MD World Champ versus the old MD World Champ. That's true. It was a crazy sunlock.
Blossom without access to Called by the Grave is not generally worth the trade-off of the top meta decks from these days also getting to ignore the hand traps.
It was pretty funny.
So that's kind of like the core argument as to why I think Called by the Grave is a card that is a type of effect that is generally pretty bad to be in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because the player going first is already naturally favored to win the game. And so non-engine, in my opinion, should be favoring the player going second more than the player going first. And that leads us to Ash Blossom's basically role in Yu-Gi-Oh! For the majority of its lifespan, which is that it was seen as one of the premier hand traps for the player going second, which is what it was when it came out. You know, it was a great card. A lot of decks had very meaningful Ash Blossom choke points, very powerful cards that the player going first would try to resolve. Let it be a Pot of Desires or a Card of Demise or anything of that nature. Or in a lot of combos, there was very important choke points, like an Isold in a Goki combo or something like that, right? Where it was clear that there was one specific step of that combo or one specific powerful spell card that the player
I guess I know
was able
what
to stop, and therefore giving them a higher chance of winning.
I mean, I'm sort of cheating because I watched the live stream a bit, but I'm pretty sure he's about to say, he's like, okay, back then Ash had significance or some impact. You were actually removing some play. But nowadays, and you know, you see this with Snake Eyes and Malice or whatever, Ash doesn't really have a place in interrupting the opponent. That actually is pretty sound, you know, like that is kind of true. The card actually got weaker as time went on, which is like, you know, pretty agreeable concept. I miss choke points. I think when I watched Josh, I was actually convinced by what he said, even though I don't see Ash Blossom as a problem. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Josh is not an unreasonable person. Like, I think his arguments are pretty sound in general. Maybe it's not like an environment like a live stream where you get a chance to see that. But yeah, for me, I don't care that it's semi-limited. And I don't think I'm going to view the card as a problem after this. But I think there's going to be a lot more agreement than me specifically. Like, I mean, right now, what he's saying right now, presenting is pretty simple to agree with. It's just Ash is getting weaker over time. Josh
had they not had
so
the Ash
everything
Blossom.
says is wrong.
And this is something that was why Ash Blossom was such a good card for such a long time. However, the role of Ash Blossom has changed in recent years, and especially in 2024 and 2025. If you look at the current top tier decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, or also the current top tier decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, this being the 3 top decks used by Ryan Yu to win the most recent Duelist Cup. It was Ryziel, Mitsurugi, it was Malice, and it was Onomat Ryziel, whereas of course in the TCG at the moment, some of the top tier decks include also Malice, Vanquish Soul K9, Pure Yami, Yami Mitsurugi, and so on and so forth, as well as Draco Tail. The majority of these decks generally don't really have a
Ash is very good against Pure Mitsu, okay? But that's kind of like doing a lot of heavy lifting, because I was not joking when I would face on MD Ladder, and I would be, hey, it's Shitsurugi, and it's like Pure Mitsu, and they got owned by an Ash or something. They actually get cooked by one Ash. Well, they could probably do more because they have more cards in their hand. But it feels very strong, like a very good trade into them. Everything else, the Draco Tail back row, that's pretty strong. But everything else, you're just like, yeah, I got
choke point for Ash Blossom.
Obviously, also, like I said, it's doing heavy lifting because Mitsurugi is splashed in other decks. And sometimes I've lost to a Valmonica deck playing Mitsurugi, and I ash their Valmonica deck. They should be losing because it's Valmonica getting ashed. But then they activate Habakiri, and I explode. Ashing the Saji? Yeah, usually ashing Saji. Usually ashing Saji, yeah.
Spring anymore. The general, and this is natural because Ash Blossom was a card that was everywhere. So of course, in order to sell new archetypes, in order to design new archetypes that don't suffer as much from Ash Blossom and Joy of Spring, they have simply made these decks that are better into Ash Blossom when they go first. There is almost no deck right now that gets consistently stopped by Ash Blossom when it goes first. Starting with stuff like Malice that doesn't even care about the card at all because the entire gimmick of the deck is banishing from the deck.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can't even let your White Binder get ashed. I think what people do is I forgot what the play was, but basically you can chain block the White Binder, whether it's GWC revive White Rabbit. I forgot. There's two ways. There's like, I think it's harder now because we don't have as many ways to trigger. Is the One Piece real? True. Mouse shot in the head once more. I expect more hits. Next month, I think they're gonna hit it again. I feel like this ban list doesn't feel like it had the Duelist Cup in mind. Yeah, it banished 2 Malice at the same time. Yes, yeah. Banished 2 Malice at the same time. And then there's also GWC revive White Rabbit trigger. Make White Rabbit set back row, Chainlink 2. That's how I know you're tryhard. I'm joking. That's actually the way to do it. But like, chain block White Binder and multi-banish Malice, yeah.
And then summoning from Banished, which basically is a fancy way of summoning a monster from your deck, but it circumvents Ash Blossom completely.
It's not Malice at the moment. At this point, it's just Cyberstyle. That's fair. I mean, you're gonna get a bunch of refunds anyway. So, but yeah, I mean that's fair.
A clear choke point for Ash Blossom.
Mathemax Circular is the next Malice hit?
Where that immediately gets fixed one set.
What happened to Splash Mage? What happened to all my Splash Mage Link Decoder haters? Why Circular?
After, because they didn't want it to have that choke point apparently, which generally I think having choke points is a pretty healthy thing. But Star Ryzeal
Circular, okay, there we go.
No longer safely hold your Ash Blossom for Ryzeal Duo Drive because they would just have Ryzeal cross beforehand and therefore completely invalidating Ash Blossom on Duo Drive. So you were left with basically one option and one option only, which is if they normal summon Ice Ryzeal, you just Ash it and you hope your opponent does not have an extender. And guess what? That little mini game that you play with your opponent is not very interesting because when you Ash an Ice Ryzeal, you already have a Sword Ryzeal in hand. Not only did you lose your Ash Blossom, but your opponent is also going to do basically the exact same combo that they were going to do anyways. Your Ash Blossom had 0 impact because you did not hit.
You think it bring Malice back if they
can't replace with another effect, right?
I don't think so. I think that stuff is going to be. I think Malice is like. I think you need a lot more. No, I don't think so. I don't think they'll bring Red Ransom. If they, like, for sure they're not bringing back Red Ransom. Maybe they reel back like Rabbit or something. I don't know, but circles are bad for the Gamekeeper. Is broken against Draco Tail? Yeah.
They have that extender. They are going to do all.
It is actually is. Yeah.
Link now you have 4 cards in hand instead of 5. That is an awful exchange, and it generally is considered, or I consider it to be bad gameplay. And this is something that is the case in so many other matchups. I mean, of course, you look at cards like K9.
They should give people got it from the anniversary because I did. I got Calamity from the anniversary. I got nothing. They banned that shit. Oh yeah, Norroy's nasty. You have to imperm this MF.
Norroy, you have no choice. You Ash Blossom that thing. Because if you don't Ash Blossom that K9 Norroy, then it summons another monster that searches another monster, and then
the Ash Blossom specifically is disgusting here because you activated a monster effect. So if they do have like other K9 cards like Izuna, they can still continue. So it's like it feels like it doesn't like it feels like a lose-lose when you Ash Norroy, but you have to, like, because then Ripper shows up.
Which is literally made to negate hand traps, right? So it's very apparent that with modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks, when you go second against them, Ash Blossom is a very, very mediocre way of handling any of their plays. You know, it is not reliable. The amount of hand traps that you have to draw to consistently stop these decks is absurd. In the example where you have an Ash Blossom against the Ice Ryzeal.
Okay, he's really front-loading his argument. With like, okay, I mean, earlier he was like, okay, here's an example, anti-spell. Boomer example. Now he's repeating the same argument. but now with modern examples. So I think at this point, if you didn't see his point with the anti-spell fragrance and Maxi, you probably see it now. I think it's not obscured by like the I think okay.
Sword in hand.
Imperm,
There is
yeah,
no other
Imperm on
handtrap that
Roy
you
is
can really
strong.
pair with that Ash Blossom to make it feel like you have meaningfully impacted their turn, unless it is a floodgate hand trap like Roland Lockbird, or it is a meaningful hand trap that doesn't trade just one for one, right? And that's the most important topic that we're going to get to, is also the Mold Charmies and what kind of role they play in this sort of exchange.
Video for
But
Type
if
B
you
Twitch
say, if you have
addicts.
another one for one trade hand trap like Effect
I
Bearer or
don't
Infinite
see
Impermanence in
it.
this scenario, you know, you Ash the Ice Ryziel, they special summon Sword, you Imperm the Sword, that's 2 level 4s, that still makes duo drive. So at this point, you are trading exceptionally bad into the Ryziel deck with your hand traps, right? Because they just keep going. They have a starter and an extender. You have 2 hand traps. They play through it like
Type A, I don't remember the
and this is
difference.
something
I think it
that
might
is
be
very
Type
natural.
A.
You know, when they give
I
us more
think-
hand traps that we play with, if they make new archetypes that they want us to
But
play,
yeah, I know
that's
what
going
you
to make them
mean.
good into the type of non-engine that people play. But that basically calls for more now non-engine, right? Which is the sort of situation that we are in right now. Of course, they have offered us other options in terms of non-engine. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh is headed in a direction where non-engine is changing. You know, we are no longer it's no longer just cards like Ash Blossom that we have for going second, but we are getting new kind of cards in the Mold Charmies these days, and so on and so forth. And well, you might ask yourself, why are people even playing Ash Blossom if it is such a mediocre card for going second, which it genuinely is. It is
Type
a very
B for
mediocre
Bar,
card
Type
going
A
second
for a
in
Bar.
modern Yu-Gi-Oh. You draw one Ash Blossom and a bunch of engine cards going second, the game is almost certainly lost these days. Which on the one hand is a problem with the power level that certain decks operate at, which this discussion is not really about, but that is also a valid argument. You know, decks are doing too much in certain circumstances. Obviously, you know, the Onomat Ryziel or the Mitsurugi Yami deck or whatever, like some of those decks are definitely gifted with a little bit too high of a ceiling, 100%. That's not the topic of today's video, though. The topic is Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So why are people playing Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring if it is such a
Okay,
mediocre card going second?
we finally got to. I feel. I mean, okay, we're halfway through. I think we're finally progressing with his argument. All right, let's keep going. Keep going.
So well,
Tell us what's on
the one reason, the first and smaller reason is that it's very versatile, and it is one of, even though it is not likely to work, it is still one of your best bets. You know, sometimes when your opponent plays a deck like Onomat Ryziel that does unthinkable things to you if you let one of their cards resolve, the best chance is trying to not let them resolve a card, which isn't very interesting gameplay wise, and you literally pray every time you have just one Ash Blossom. You pray it's enough, just hit the first card and
Oshi,
hope
yeah,
they
it's
pass.
your Oshi.
But sometimes it works.
He
Sometimes
just,
it works.
Oshi just hit the cinema pose.
So like it's literally like you grasp that straw. You take it and you hope it works. But the more important reason is Ash Blossom is insane when you go first. Because what is one of the ways you can
I
actually...
do I don't know, like when I play the game, I do notice like when I'm going second and I have like it's not even like my opponent ends on a half board or anything like that, but you know, when I look at my hand or something like that, I also always have to consider like non-engine, right? Like, oh, does he have Imperm set? Does he have Ash Blossom? Ash Blossom does like check like stuff like thrust, even just like core engine pieces that you just pop on the what's called on the field that doesn't, like, they don't have to like worry too much about using their front row because like they have their hand as an additional way to interact, and there's not really a way to beat that. It also works with Nibiru too, also has that effect too, where like going first, it's extremely powerful. I don't know. I feel like this isn't like, it's more of like a symptom of like, it is Ash, I guess, aging poorly because it can be used going first. Whereas it seems like with the Charmies, they can be used solely going second. Did Oshi crash out about the last ban list? I don't know. Did he even talk about it? I think he just enjoyed the holiday so far. I don't think he's mentioned anything. Why Gamma is limited? In TCG, it coincided with the release of Stardust Assault Dragon, and I think people were also playing it a lot more. Like, I think in TCG for sure. I think it was. They never stated this, but you could, if you activated Gamma on your own turn, you could go Stardust Assault Dragon and then make Barone. I don't know if every deck was going to do that, but it is like a good, like Assault Dragon was about to be released. In Master Duel, I think it was just like widely played. As we spent like 30 minutes about how awful the design on Matt Rise. That's the DC recap, right? Ban Gamma. Brandon going second into board with the first play without having Ash Blossom. Yeah, also the Draco Tail Mirror. I feel like if my opponent has Ash and I'm going second to it, like it kind of like, it limits a lot of my options. Which is kind of gross. But I think it's kind of a symptom of just like non-engine deciding games in general. Which kind of sucks. Like if it wasn't Ash Blossom, maybe it was Ash Blossom is probably one of the worst, but it could have been actually no, probably worse is probably Maxi depending on your deck. But it was you know, obviously it could be it's probably Ash Blossom is probably the most like it checks a lot of things that you don't have to. You got hit with other cards that could have been banned instead of limited. Impulse, yes, the impulse also behaves like that too. Also you set the impulse too. That's the other advantage you obtain by setting impulse. If you were forced to set impulse for activate impulse from hand, then there'd probably be more decision making. But when you set impulse, you get to keep like 90% of your options. Like and I don't know. I think there's just a lot of non-engine. It's not just Ash Blossom. I think there's just a lot of non-engine that decides the game. More often going first. I think that's also Gamma's issue. Gamma actually is extremely impactful going second. And the ways to prevent it are balls. Like, okay, I'm going to bell Gamma. I'm going to try Gamma again. There's actually a guy who got so annoyed who actually cross-outed my Gamma and he summoned Barone. And then I activated Gamma multiple times repeatedly. And he got so fed up with the activation, he Barone negated. And then I knew him after. Anyway, I'm blazing Gamma. Korea had to help going second, but they accidentally helped going first. I think that's I think they just aged that way. Yes, I think that's how I feel about them in general. Anyway, but Gamma can also be used going first, and it's extremely like it was actually kind of fake in Super Heavy Samurai, because you could just wait for their Benkei and then interact with that. A lot of people will interact with the Wakaushi, but you could just wait till Benkei. Like Ogre on Benkei is still almost as powerful, and they would control monsters, so you wouldn't get Gamma. But if you did play into the Wakaushi, they would Gamma you, make Barone, and then end you. Gamma was fine in Yubel. Could you Ash after? Would you just Ash Nightmare Pain in that case? I guess maybe there's just no. I don't know. I think Gamma helped a lot more going second, but it also had those like annoying like Wakaushi. But yeah. So I think maybe the game has evolved. I don't know, when did that turning point where non-engine was like how games were decided? When did that happen? Maybe it was because when did we even hit a critical mass of non-engine? When you're able to slot in like 16, 18.
Discourage your opponent from making that full board. It's Molcharmies. And in Master Duel and OCG's world, it is Maxi, but that card should not be legal for another reason that we're going to talk about.
Okay, so I think this is a point of contention. Like, I feel like if you don't like Molcharmies, you're probably not going to hear him out, which is fair. I think it's when Zoo came out. Oh, yeah. That actually, Zoo could fit in a lot. When non-engine used 15 slots, especially in SC format. Snake Eyes was when it was like, oh, fuck. Like, when it was super obvious. What was, Charmies? Okay, I can see why, like, this would be. Because, for me, Charmies have the potential to be also aged poorly. Don't get me wrong. We just received these. So far, like, Fuelos doesn't seem to achieve too much either. Like, I mean, that's just, like, I think of Ryzeo. Ryzeo can play under Molcharm. It can afford to give you 4 draws. But they have uninteractive cards like Cross that, like, can offset the impact of those draws. 15 slots post-circular? Oh, definitely, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, they could. Are Malding about Charmies? Okay, so if it's Charmies, that's the point of contention. This makes sense. Why it's like a controversial opinion. But only way for our Charmies going first is weak. I don't know. I guess my uninformed opinion is these are a lingering floodgate effect, and it's such a catch-all to most situations. There's not that much like. Deciding game with a Charmy isn't that much removed. I don't know how you would do it though. there are like hand traps I could think of that they haven't explored. Going second resolve Fua won 80% of the time this regional, but it was small sample size. Okay. Yeah, I think Fua kind of balances out. I don't know, like I don't know. I feel like when I watched Worlds, I felt like Fua didn't do much versus Ryzeal. Ryzeal just like did their floodgate board. Well, the floodgate as in like Baguska, and they didn't even summon Detonator. I at least okay. Charmies are still like disproportionately powerful, right? Like versus the top decks, it feels like they don't do that much because they probably have to be qualified as a top deck. You have like a Mulcharmy game plan, but not every deck has that. And I mean, I think people will probably be say like, oh, you know what? That's probably by design. But you know what? Archmage has a decent time under Mulcharmies. But then they might just do something similar. Because with Ash Blossom, another thing they kept doing was setting cards from the deck instead of adding to skirt around Ash. And that was actually obnoxious. Droll's also messed up for this too. Very well designed hand for me is Nibiru. I like Nibiru because you actually get to play and decide whether you want to commit to it or not. And then like if it becomes good, then you just don't. Not every deck has a Nibiru game plan though. But it's certainly a lot more decks available that could, you know, have a Nibiru game plan than a Mulcharmy game plan. They summoned Baguska more than the Detonator. That was crazy to me. Chaining Fua, yeah, chaining Fua to Fua is nasty. What the fuck? Why are you allowed to do that? That bothers me a lot. Why did they let you do that? I know they did that to off because probably someone complained about Max C being hard once per turn. So when they got outed, you know what? Let's give this some edge. More Droll than Ash. Fair enough, but I think with we might see that trend with Mulcharmies though. It might encourage more decks to just be like, okay, I'm gonna set up like 2 interactions for 1 draw. Like you'll probably go. Mitsurugi is already a very good example, actually, of a deck that has a good Fualos game plan. That deck is really efficient. But yeah, anyway, point is, in the future it could age poorly. We'll see. We might get Mulcharmies that don't do shit in the future. So I think the jury's still out. I'm kind of going to be on the side of wait and see. Mulcharmies feel like they do the most for 1 card. Like there's nothing to scoff at. Like a card that gives you 1 card deeper into your deck and makes your opponent pause whether to continue. I think Ryzeal feels like an outlier at least. Malice actually too. Malice too. They don't give a shit. But out of all the cards you could resolve, like if you resolve Droll on a deck that loses a Droll, you don't get a card back. Even if you get something sets like 3 traps from deck for under Fua, but at least you get a card back for sure. They get interactions, but at least you get a card back for that. Make a hand trap that gives you a starter and board breaker of choice. There is a you might be cooking
a second.
Mitsu as well, yeah.
Exactly what I want non-engine to do in the current Yu-Gi-Oh environment.
Let's draw cards, but doesn't let you use
exclusively.
effects.
If you go first, you cannot make use of Mulcharmies, and that is another thing with non-engine in general. With Yu-Gi-Oh decks being so good at going first naturally, I think non-engine is problematic when it is also really good to back up an already established pretty strong board. You know, when the player going first, you all know this, when the player going first drops a Nibiru on you, or when the player going first has a Droll and Lockbird in hand, or also sometimes as
Nibiru and Droll and Lockbird, it's just like, okay, I can't beat this.
That's destroying an Ash Blossom next
I'm
to
making Infernoble Yummy.
board.
I heard there's a really, really unique like Infernoble build. That plays Yummy. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't seen it, but I have heard about it.
Often very, very hard to beat, and sometimes completely unbeatable. Which, you know, in the case of Nibiru or Droll and Lockbird, maybe some
drop Fua and draw to the breaker and start it.
First, you know, like maybe you are able to figure out a cool line to outplay Droll and Lockbird on Nibiru when you are able to go first. But when your opponent goes first and makes any kind of board and has
I think Sulf Yummy.
And I think
if I do pick up Yummy, it'll probably be Sulf Accord. I do have Mitsurugi cards.
important things about the Molcharmies is that they do not work when you already have a board, and I think that is a very important factor when we're looking at non-engine design for the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! I understand that some decks are hit harder by Charmies than others, but this is a very natural process in Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, sometimes new non-engine comes out and some decks are bad into it, and that's why they phase out. That does not necessarily mean Molcharmies are
I do have
badly
Mitsu
designed
cards,
just because
yes.
some rogue decks die to them. You know, there's just as many rogue decks that can't play.
Don't tell me what cards you
Charmies
can't
inherently do a couple of.
Hear me
things.
out, Tri-Brigade
First of all,
dummy.
they work only going second, which I think is very important, like I just said. But they also don't just negate a card. I think this type of, and this is something that I guess doesn't get talked about enough. At the moment, this sort of like Ash Blossom, Impulse, Imperm, Veiler, whatever gameplay, I personally, and this is subjective, you can let me know what you think about this, but I find
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get Sulfur Cord cards immediately. Yeah, but I figure March maybe. Even then, I can't see it coming February, but maybe March. Yeah, we might take a while.
Uninteresting if the way you win going second is to just trade 1-for-1 hand traps with your opponent's starters, and you basically just say like, hey, I got 3 hand trap negates. How many starters you got? Oh, is that just 2? Well, I guess you're not playing the game. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I just have 2 hand traps. How many starters you got? Oh, 3. I guess I lose, because as soon as you resolve a card, that's gonna lead you to so much card advantage, and I now only have 3 cards left in hand. I'm gonna draw a 4th card, but I don't think I can overcome what you do after all that. So I guess you win.
You just makes Infernoble.
I think it's not interesting. So I think one of the and honestly, this is a result of you.
Is Infernoble hit in Master Duel at all? I'm not calling for a ban or anything. I'm just saying in TCG they did ban Isolde, and it's only because of the like it's not even like Infernoble got that huge of a performance. It just got like one good result. Infernoble has 0 hits. Wow. Okay, so enjoy your Fire Twink Warriors.
Design philosophy changing over the years. You know, this is a. It's not. I don't think it's a cycle. I think it's more
The
like
mate
a
is not coming
progression.
to
You know,
Alraka.
like we had games.
It's Snatchy. We did get a leak of a Snatchy mate. I don't know how much you like Snatchy. It's untouched. Charles just fell off. Okay. Snatchy. Do you fuck with this mate? Because that's what we know from the leaks. W? Alright, W. Where's the leak? I actually don't know. It was disseminated on Discord. I imagine the Master Duel meta Discord it came from, because that's where people data mine.
Once upon a time,
Fire
there had
Twigs, I
meaningful
think it's called Fire
where
Kings.
cards like Ash Blossom and Imperm could be used in meaningful ways, where you would let the opponent play a little bit.
Type
get to a
Snatchy and
certain
Google
part of the
image.
board,
I'm not
then
gonna
Ash a key thing
type
or Imperm a key thing on
Snatchy
their
with
end board,
no
and there was a fine game
qualifiers.
of Yu-Gi-Oh to be played. That is not really where we are right now. I think most Yu-Gi-Oh decks
Because
do
he's
too
so much
much
better.
for you to hold these cards for certain points, for certain interact. These days, 99% of the time, the right point to use your hand traps is as early as possible and hope they don't play. And I think that is not interesting. And this is where cards like the Molcharmies come in and actually just like they discourage your opponent from going for their full combo. And I say full combo because Molcharmies against all top meta decks at the moment do not discourage them from playing at all, which is one of the main
You
differences
cards
between
still comes
Molcharmies
up?
and
I'm still
YC.
not doing
There
it.
are decks right here, and this is true for all of the top tier decks here. They are all capable of making very solid endboards.
Kamsi
under
has
Molcharmies.
arms over Josh's
Some of the best
face.
Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment happens under Molcharmies. The best Yu-Gi-Oh probably happens under Molcharmies. Vanquish Soul
I
can
see,
easily
yeah.
set
I
up a
see it,
Ripper
yeah.
that sets the quick play spell, plus some of the Vanquish Soul disruptions in 1 or 2 Molcharmy draws. Malice, if they start with a good normal summon or a gold start or the field spell or whatever, against Molcharmy Fuwalos or Perulia, can sometimes give 1 or 0 draws to still end on Hard Scripter plus the trap.
Did he mention
to
Allure of
banish two of
Darkness?
your
That's when I wanted to shoot myself if I have like Fulos. I didn't catch if he mentioned.
opponent's cards plus whatever non-engine they've drawn, while giving the opponent 0 or 1 draw out of their Charmies. It's just
He
that, like,
keeps
they
hitting
can't
the
go for
cinema
full
zones? I know,
crazy
he
combo,
loves doing
if
that.
If they do that. Yami is a deck that can very well play under almost any Charmy. You know, like it discourages them from going for the full combo, but they can set up pretty good boards with a lot of interaction on your turn. Mitsurugi, same thing. Reiko Tail doesn't even care about the Molcharmies. Molcharmies are simply not unhealthy in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! This is something you need to understand. If you have a problem with Molcharmies, it is likely that you are playing a
I
deck.
figure competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, but there is probably disparity. There is definitely probably decks under the surface that probably get hit by Molcharmy. You could probably hand wave it, being like, oh, if you play Junk Speeder, and you cry about Molcharmies, then deserved, I guess. You know, that's by design. Fair enough. But Josh
simply doesn't have a good plan B, or you're simply maybe scared to actually play Yu-Gi-Oh with your opponent. You need your deck to make an auto win board in order to win the game. But realistically, all of these decks play very solid Yu-Gi-Oh against Charmies. They do not auto lose.
Every time
and
Yu-Gi-Oh hate
Charmy does
related.
not end the game for any of them. Which leads me to the reason why Ash Blossom is being played. It simply is the best way to ignore Molcharmies at the moment. The number one reason for all of these decks to play Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is to delete one card out of your opponent's hand when you go first, and basically rob them of any chance in participating in the game. Because, well, you don't have to worry about making that half board. You don't have to risk your opponent having a strong engine hand and being able to play into your board with maybe 1 or 2 extra cards when you can just Ash the Molcharmy, because your deck is built to already play through Ash Blossom or Imperm or Valor or whatever super well. So if you just draw an Ash Blossom...
Okay, for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, that is kind of true. Like, it does mean the difference between your opponent, like, sitting on half board. You might still lose. Like, in the case of Malice, you might still lose because Chessie draws, Allure draws, still probably get him to more non-engine. Potentially the other Ash in hand to stop you. But if they Ash you, then they don't even care. That is true. They'll just go for their full board.
Get your opponent's Molcharmy, you ignore that part of their deck as well, and
Has
you can
actually
just
made
normal summon
collection
your,
file. Oh, you can
normal
link
summon
the
your Dormouse,
Reddit
you can normal
thread.
summon your Noroi, or normal summon your Dormouse, normal summon your Neptibus, activate your Dododo Warrior, normal summon your Cupsy Yummy. You name it, all of these cards
Let your
trade
opponent draw a
incredibly
card.
well into all kind of 1-for-1 hand traps. And so as long as you can negate the Charmy, you win the game. And
I wouldn't hate it. It would, if you take off the lingering effect. That's not the worst.
so you might not like this, but if you've been following my arguments,
Negate
it's
your
pretty
attempt to
clear.
take
Ash
your
Blossom
weak, I
Joyous
win.
Spring is called by the grave. The function of this card in modern Yu-Gi-Oh is called by the grave. Called by the grave is a card that is not that good going second. Usually, you can use it sometimes, but it's not likely to win you the game if your opponent goes full combo anyways. Ash Blossom is the same
No
thing.
tutor negate.
Ash Blossom is very mediocre when you go second on average.
It
After
might
going against
not
all these
matter
decks in
too
the format,
much,
but when you go first,
but
it
at
becomes
least
a god
it's
card.
like
Just like Called by the
you
Grave,
don't feel
it checks
bad.
your opponent's most powerful hand traps.
You get
And
a
if you
card.
don't need it, if you can combo anyways because your opponent didn't draw a Molcharmy, well, I guess I'm making a full board and I have an Ash on top of it. Try to beat that. I guess you won't. Ash Blossom is literally Called by the Grave. So, and this is, I think, a perfect example of a card just not aging well. This card was a card that helped the player going second once upon a time when decks had meaningful choke points, but it is not that anymore. It is simply not that anymore. And I guess that's what I've been trying to get across.
I should
here.
work at a
I'm not
Con.
trying to ramble for too
Can you
long.
pass the
even though I
blunt?
know people like
Yeah, you can have
these
it.
sort of like in-depth card design discussions. That's why I really wanted to make that video. And so that is, I guess, my point here. And feel free to let me know about a couple of things. But like, I guess the main statements that I wanted to get across are. Number one, I believe the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! With archetypes getting more and more powerful, which I've come to terms with combo decks existing. I've come to terms with one-card combos. You know, I've spoken my piece on this sort of stuff. You know, but if that stuff has to exist, if combos
Make
have to
Thunder
exist,
the
if
three,
people
okay,
love
Genmo.
these kind of
All
playstyles,
right.
and
Thunder
they
the
make decks
three,
like this, there
okay.
needs to be counterplay. And if the player going first is so favored if they resolve their combo, non-engine in the game needs to favor the player going second. It needs to help the player going second disproportionately more than the player going first. You know, and that is my problem.
That
With
Glorp
cards
is
like
greedy.
Nibiru and Droll,
Look at
which
him.
Nibiru technically promotes healthier gameplay when you draw it going second. You know, it forces the
Zaza
opponent to play
Glorp.
around it, and sometimes, like a lot of decks these days, are actually designed to like
He has that
play around
bump all
Nibiru to
to
an extent, but
himself.
you can usually still use it to make their board weaker. Like,
Oh,
Yami is
yeah,
a
I
good
didn't
example
realize
of
he
this. Like,
exploded after
you
the
can usually
blunt.
prevent the Herald of the Arclight, for example, if you want to with Nibiru against Yami.
Okay,
it will always be
deserved.
live. So Nibiru going second, I would classify as a relatively healthy card. And even Droll and Lockbird, when you go second, is probably fine for the game. Like the player going second, drawing Droll and Lockbird is fair, I think. The problem with both of these cards is that they become basically unbeatable when the player going first draws them, because they have no clause that prevents them from being used when you go first. And so this is what differentiates the Molcharmies from cards like Nibiru, Droll, and also Maxi. You know, this is something that
Under
Maxi is completely
DCs?
lacking, because any ability to make
Oh,
any
yeah.
half board under Maxi is completely out of the window when your opponent has already set up a full board. Like you can't just go IP pass or whatever you do against Maxi in your deck if your opponent already has a full board. It's not an option, so you just lose. I think more ways to help
I
the
don't
player-
really care too much about Maxi on full board, but Maxi in Labyrinth, Maxi in Draco Tail, Maxi in half, and basically any deck that makes a half board that you kind of have to push through. That actually makes me pissed. Like I was actually super. I mean, I ended up winning, so I guess I have no reason to complain. But that Luna Light deck that Maxi'd me turn one, so I had to end on a half board. I hand trapped them, and then they Maxi me again. That pissed me off. Maxi and Blue, yeah.
Going second are the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! In order to balance things a little bit. And I believe Ash Blossom is a little bit out of place now because they've realized already that like they need to stop making these one-on-one interactions in order, because it just doesn't work well when people are summoning cards like Noroi or Dormouse or Ice or the Dododo or Neptibus or Cupsy. Like none of these cards like you can stop with one-on-one hand traps. It simply does not work.
Except the one for
So we
turn.
need cards like the Molcharmies. We need cards like Phimena as well. You know, Phimena and
I mean,
and
people
Holy Sue and
complain
stuff
about
like that
opening
are all
multiple
great
copies
examples
and
of
then
this.
having
And
two
Ash
dead
Blossom
cards
has
in hand.
basically been downgraded to like a cult by the grave
Because of the one for turn.
in
Not that
modern Yu-Gi-Oh!
it
I hope I
needs
was
to
able to get
have
that
it,
point
but
across.
people will find a way
everyone
to
had, I had fun watching the discussion, I guess. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of this. Was I able to get my points across clear? Do you agree with what I'm saying?
I think his point is pretty clear. I feel like the Mulcharmy stuff is where people are like gonna be the most. For me, it's wait and see. Mulcharmies do have the potential to be like to become another Ash Blossom arm. Make Ash soft OPT. Not terrible.
If
I
not,
actually
then
wouldn't be upset.
why not? Because I feel like I've
Copy
made
the
some pretty good
Vector
points
Max
here, but maybe you disagree. Let me know why. But yeah, this video is probably releasing around Christmas time, so if you're seeing this around the Christmas holidays, then Merry Christmas to you all if you celebrate,
Thank you,
or if not, I
Josh.
just wish you
Merry
some
Christmas to
happy
you,
holidays
too.
or some nice days off work or whatever. Thank you so much for watching. We're probably
8
gonna
more
have, like, an end
examples.
of the year.
He really made sure to use almost every example. There's one printing in some region when Ash was first released. What? That's funny.
Recap stream soon-ish, where we're also going to do the design awards. I'm going to throw the link to the design awards down in the description as well. There's going to be your last chance to participate. We already have over 4,000 responses to the 2025 card design, like what people liked and what they didn't like, and so on and so forth. So if you haven't taken part in that yet, feel free to take part. Link is going to be in the description down below. I would really appreciate any input, and maybe we can provide.
It's so funny. I still remember the Despia. The one where Aluber only searches Despia spell and traps instead of branded. Where's the link? I'll link the. I don't want NordVPN. Where the fuck is the link? Orm. Oh, it's right here. Only just yeah. It was only the field spell. Okay, that looks like a sus link. I'm sorry. If you don't want to click, it's a redirect link to his Google form for like the design awards. Sorry about. Fine, I'll repost it so that you don't need to click on it. Mods, I know. Stream Boo free. What's it called? Reading that chaos source is called. Could have popped if it's super poly due to incorrect. I'm stupid. I'll click it. Ban the yummy. Oh my god. Ban. Okay. Lingering hand traps are not the solution for the game. I don't know. Like you can definitely take a principled stance against this, but it is the reality of this game. I feel like if you're gonna say this, you should provide an alternative, at least, at the very least. D barrier, various articles were already very healthy. Drone Charmy shouldn't be on the way how we fixed Degenerate decks. Well, I mean, yeah, they just feel like band-aid solutions. So I understand that much. Like, I'm not... Should change so decks like... But, okay, that's the problem. I think that was Herman's, like, disagreement as well. No. I think the bans. No. They're saying D barrier bans and various artifact bans. It's just grammar. It's just grammar. No way they said D barrier was healthy. No. They said bans. I think this here is probably what was Herman's thing, where like other decks shouldn't be behaving in such a way that you need Charmies, but that's probably not the reality. 1-for-1 hand traps feel awful. Yeah, I mean technically you have dominant stuff, but it's not like generic enough. Ooh, that looks good. Yeah. Yeah. Let me know when it's ready, and I'll end stream. Thank you. What was it called? I'm saying like Dominus is a 1-for-1, but its effect is actually kind of powerful. More decks and Diamond ability to go second like Ketu. Yes, Ketu, Incredible Khaleesi, and Poseidra are very, very good cards. I really like them. Those guys are really yeah, that's the other thing. You can't print going second cards that are good going first. I've always had that. That was kind of a... That's why I don't like Izuna going to Ripper too much. But Izuna on its own is fine. Christmas dinner time? Yeah, Christmas dinner. Am I crazy for saying Ryzeal isn't the problem? All the bridge cards are the problem? I think bridges are fine to get rid of. To be fair, Ryzeal in MD is literally just ice and 2 guys. I guess Duo Drive would be... Would you consider Duo Drive a bridge? Because that technically wouldn't fall under that. I think you would have to accept Duo Drive being a bridge card. Cross and dual drive being generic is the problem. Yeah. Cross is nasty. But I guess, yeah, if you can't tutor cross, you can't, there's different ways to approach cross. You could keep duo drive and get rid of star. You get rid of duo drive. Yeah, sadly. I guess you could say, like, if they made duo drive generic, which I think they decided not to do that. I think they made sure to say duo drive will be generic to make this deck good. But I guess you could also say if duo drive said one Ryzeo monster, then sure. It was probably fine. Yeah. Oh yeah, duo drive. Okay, that what Monk Unit just said. Reggie, am I crazy for saying? Is that Glorp with the reindeer? And Glarvard is the problem. Pointing out Feral Imp and Banshee make it harder for it to be splashed. Yeah. But I think duo drive also is you'd have to address duo drive. That's an elephant in the room. Well, I get it, understand what you're saying. I don't think Ash is the toxic part of the equation. It's modern card design. I don't think he's saying Ash is like toxic. I think he's saying the ban makes sense to him and it should go, you know, it should probably go. I guess if you Glorb, yeah. Are you reacting, Josh? Yeah, we just finished. It was a pretty good video, I think. I think his points were pretty sound. I don't think I mean, he spent a lot of time making sure he had enough examples to make it clear what his point was. Let's see. Needs to invest in more cards like Ketu. Last we won 9 out of 11s. Come on, guys. Okay, this is not that convincing, all right? Besides the auspicious number, this is not like... This is very, very... I don't know. This is like a like a statistic, but I need to know what... I don't know. When Charmy is resolved. Like, you still have to weigh against how many it was activated. Yeah, I don't know. This is not a good statistic, okay? But I already know it's already gonna be repeated. Trish burner count is yes. Yeah. Trish burner count. By going second option overpowering going first options. This is the guy I mentioned earlier. This is not convincing to me, especially when you just say it like this. I think because you also have to keep in mind how many times they were activated, because that actually plays into the conversation Josh is saying, whether Ash is being like, yeah, okay, when a powerful card resolves, it wins. Sure. Happy Thursday. Like, okay, yeah, when my Infernoble Knight gets summoned to the Link 1 Infernoble Knight gets summoned to the field, I win the game 90% of the time. That's not that, like, okay, yeah, you got a full combo, I guess. MD Worlds when Florida didn't have much impact on win rate. Yeah, I feel Worlds, I don't know, when I watched Worlds, it felt like Fua didn't do anything. Obviously, I don't have any hard numbers because all I did was watch. But it felt like Ryzeo just ate up Fua, like, for breakfast. When they banned Max Eater and Oversteer and Prince Strong and Engine Breakers for every meta deck. Yeah, I wonder what, how far the game has to roll back, or I guess change, to make Nibiru, like, overbearing. That's also another thing. Because right now it feels like Nibiru doesn't do enough, but... Congrats to me for getting 3 UR and Draco's back with 3,000 gems. None are Draco cards or cards I can use. Aww. Other aspect of cards like Ash called Max Hydrol and Nibiru's are non-existent deck building. I'm loving cards like Dominuses that they can still be card generic, but I'm not 100% free generic that all deck can use. That's fair. Dominuses, yeah. I think for stronger versatile handler, some deck build costs can be applied. Another way, like Holy Sue and 5 mana are tied to an archetype. I've heard deck building, I guess it looks like, yeah. Sneaky C is waiting the weeks its day will come. Oh, I didn't finish this, guys. The fact that every card is a starter and extender does everything needs to stop. The fun part of combo isn't able. everything's being able to figure out what you can do when disrupted, even though that means half boards. Figuring out the kind of half boards you need for the matchup when you're in is some of the most fun gameplay. But you are right, with the direction card design is going, it probably does need to go. It's just sad that toxic modern card design is forcing good balanced card design to be used in unhealthy ways. I will also add that our Charmies are also unhealthy to the game, as it forces card design to be that you're able to put up boards under them, which inherently will cause rapid power creep. They might make the play patterns fine, but if they keep wanting power creep meta every time, it will cause future problems with decks doing too much in a handful of summon, as well as likely encourage it more playing during the opponent's turn to avoid giving draws of Charmies. Alright. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think Ash is just a symptom. Because there's other cards that behave that way. As well. So, like, if they banned Ash, I'd be like, okay. Sure. I mean, I'd be surprised, actually. But I would feel like there's more to talk about. But yeah, it just got semied. All right, what's the next? Ash's problem when all problems are fixed. Yeah, that could be a way to put that. Why even ban Ash? Not even that strong of a hand trap? I guess it's because it's like called by. If it behaves like called by and people want called by banned. All right, do I do this? I want to dedicate a stream to this. This Pokemon crossword. This looks like... Wow, okay. That is a large crowd. Yeah, we gotta dedicate a stream to this. It'll be like a chat. I'm not gonna do this on my own. I think it'll be a chat group effort. Do floor 278. What is that? Like Persona 3 Tartarus? Okay, this is gonna take a while. I'm gonna dedicate a stream to this. the crossword. Do you know if you get it right? It's both a device in real life and an item in Animal Crossing. I've never played All right. Okay, we'll save this for All right, could full power Ishizu tier elements beat Goku? Fishing rod? Oh, it could be fishing rod, actually. You know what? Let's try it. Oh, fuck! It can be made in the item printer. Okay, I don't even know what I clicked. You can use Honchkrow in this minigame. Holy shit, these seem hard. It can only evolve in certain locations. Okay, there's like 4 guys that do that. You'll never find out. I know. No Pokemon has this move in its level up. Okay, this is actually diabolical. F-Zero is featured in his Pokestar movies. Oh my god, I never did Pokestar Studios. That shit scares me. Pheasant Pities. I don't play the TCG? Oh my god. Increases level in hyperspace Lumios by 8 when used in a donut? Oh! Ah, okay. I actually know this one. It's like... oh my god. Okay, I have to remember the name. It's like Shuka or something like that. Shuka berry. Okay, that's not enough letters, but yeah, it might be okay. All right. Could full pure power tier elements beat Goku? Is this a question? Is flip the script? Oh, okay. All right, yeah, okay. So we'll dedicate a stream to that.
Back.
All right. What's up, gamers? We are back.
With another Ego video. This time, I'm here to ask and answer, since I saw this on Reddit, could full power tier elements beat Goku? So, first and foremost, gotta lay out some ground rules. This is considered tier element at full power before the February 20th.
We need Walter to weigh in on this. I need to ask Walter this. If I ever get a chance, I'll ask him. He might
The
actually know
Babies,
the
where
answer.
They lost Tail Elements, Kid Kalos, and I believe the names went down to 1 each. Second, if the 2 elements are allowed to fuse from graveyard, Goku is allowed to fuse from graveyard as well. 2.5, the fusion participant will be Vegeta against Vegeta's pride and among other things, because while the fusion of Gohan, Hercule, and Dende are in theory possible, as shown in Dragon Ball
What on the brain
the
rot?
Vegeta
I'm
is
sorry,
best
the
possible
people
opinion,
have
as we
spoken.
have
They
the
wanted me
information
to
of the
react to
result
this.
between the two, which is Vegito. In 2.5, Goku has 1 Potara earring on already, and per time rules, this is a 45-minute match, best 2 out of 3 with siding. So, our first contestant, full power tier limit. So, this deck can play from turn 0, could plus 870,000 cards off of a Hadvis Mills. It was a very nice skill-intensive deck. Mirror match was a showcase of who was the better pilot and who can survive the most mental
Yo,
trauma.
Genmu, if you ever get a chance to talk to Walter, ask him if they could be, ask him if they could beat Goku.
They had powerful fusion monsters in tier limits: Kikalos, Kaleidoheart, and Rucolos.
Have you seen the Pot of
Kaleidoheart
Desire
was a
video?
Powerful, was a
Yeah, you
count,
can share it with me.
Kikalos was a summon negates.
I'll take a look.
Kikalos can send tier limit cards from deck, from your deck to hand. She can send herself to add cards, and she
Is that a
removes
Walter
cards if
special?
She got sent to the graveyard. All powerful effects. Of course, because they're fusion monsters and they don't have archetypal locks, they can also play things like El Shaddai Winda, Fusion Grapha, Exezus like Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal to dump a tier limit or a Shizu card to the graveyard to either get more mills and more fusions. I am also exaggerating about some things. So, we do have the supporting cast of full power tier. Without the Shizu cards, full power tier was not a thing. So, understand.
What did you ask?
Released in November 3rd, 2022, and with it, the Shizu's deck received retrains of.
I was just saying.
For the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh, giving Breath of Light to her cards, as well as things.
Sorry, I asked is this a Walter video? Okay, I'm gonna click on this. Oh yeah. I've seen this before. Well, I could. It is a long time ago. Like, when was this? 3 years ago? 5 years ago. Walter Jewel? Okay, Walter showed up. Yeah, I've seen this before. Okay, I can take a look again. It's 4796. Hello, Lucario. Merry Christmas to you.
Faithful and expanding the main strategy of your deck, sending cards to the graveyard by card effect. So, as you know, Midora and Keldo can target 3 or 5 if Exchange of Spirits is in the graveyard, as that's what the deck revolves around, and shuffle them back into the deck. Kelbeck and Nikito will send 5 cards to the graveyard if at any point they're sent to the graveyard from hand or deck, or they can send an additional 5 more cards if Exchange of Spirits in the graveyard. You are not playing Exchange of Spirits in full power tier, but if you did, it'd be very funny.
Dang, when are they making the death battle version of this?
So, understand, with the combination of both the Shizu cards released in Magnificent Mavens and each tailor made
yeah, the Master Duel limiting desires.
20 cards from both
Such a
players'
sad
deck on the very first turn. Then created the Tier 0 format in which a deck
Death battle
85
Goku versus Tier Elements.
plus representation at any event, right? This was very dominant. This was easily one of the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh history of all time, and any decks that was in that format quite literally pale in comparison to the Shizu Tier Elements. Now, the only other deck at the time that could compare was Sprite, and while Sprite
Tier already got power creep.
Well,
they got ban list. That's okay. To be fair, if you were to go to the traditional formats with like the ones that China hosts, they did get mogged by Ryziel in the last couple unlimited formats. Cycle they made an update with animations of Apocalypse, very cool. Oh shoot! Yeah,
is a level 2.
They just did one last week.
Needs 2 monsters.
They have 20 extra decks.
To rank 2. And not only that.
Okay, you can share that one.
You know they are triggered by being sent to the graveyard by card effect. Destroying them with something like Raigeki.
Yeah, how does it? That was me with Labyrinth when they open Extravagance all the time.
There, the deck can just keep recycling, right? Midora and Keldo can just shuffle cards back, right? And then while Agido and Kelbeck just send more cards, get more fusions. The deck wasn't all without weaknesses, though. As you know, they need to be sent to the graveyard to activate their effects. There were 3 big boys during this time. Dimension Shifter completely gutters the deck. When activated, any card sent to the graveyard is immediately banished. Because of that, the tier cards won't trigger, and the Shizu cards will not trigger. Second, Abyss Dweller can also turn off any tier Shizu cards the moment they're activated, because it locks down a graveyard effects the moment when this
pie chart. Okay, I'll take a look after this.
Card resolves. And finally, the Beast Jewels, right, released in Darkwing Blast, also can mess up a fusion by targeting a tier name. If you activated Havness, for example, right, and you want to make Kikalos, well, if the only names you have are Havness and Merly, you can target Merly, banishing it, and then Havness will then fizzle because it does not.
For a short summary of tier, this isn't half bad.
Now,
Where does
Son
Goku? Okay.
Kind-hearted, carefree, and loves a good meal, Son Goku of Universe 7 is one of the strongest warriors of the multiverse in Dragon Ball. Arriving on Earth as a baby to originally destroyed, he suffered an accident that caused him to completely change to how he is today. While he isn't the strongest character in fiction, all that look up to him ask for his help, to which he bodies the spirit of the strongest. As you know, he is a Saiyan, raised on Earth, the winner of the 23rd World Tournament after defeating Piccolo, saved the Earth numerous times, has an extreme appetite. You could probably bribe him with food. You could probably do his taxes, will probably fail basic trigonometry.
All right, Trig's not that like hard. Sorry, it's not that easy. All right. I guess sine and cosine, but I don't even like know that by heart. This isn't the worst. If it's like algebra, I'll be bruh, or arithmetic, I'm like, all right, Goku, you need to go. I mean, you need arithmetic for taxes, don't you? So, okay, that's not true. This is not that bad, all right? Failing basic trigonometry is
was the strongest warriors in his universe. So, Goku's techniques and combat powers and feats, as you know, he's one of the most skilled martial artists on Earth, as he learned multiple tuilages from Master Roshi, Jackie Chun, or Grandpa Gohan and such. He possesses
Gigi's the one doing the taxes? That's true. He is absentee for a bit.
Bomb, and the mighty Dragon Fist. I should say mighty. My bad.
But he does hold down a job, so at least he has possession of a W2 form.
12, was like 13 at the time, right? And he achieved a technique that is notorious among the gods of destruction that couldn't have mastered, that being the autonomous ultra instinct, and has achieved a power level of over 9,000. I know. Now, understand, Goku does have one final trump card in his sleeve for this matchup. Goku has a plethora of equipment with him. The Power Pole probably will not help him with this, but the Potara earrings, with it, fusing with Vegeta, makes Vegito. Now, Vegito is a combination of Goku and Vegeta.
I just clicked on the Bilibili link, and the CAPTCHA is not that tough, but I realize it's using like Chinese characters in a particular order. Oh, like holy shit! Okay, I got through the CAPTCHA. Holy shit! was not ready for that. You are a robot. Yeah, I'm officially a robot if I failed that.
Yeah, Sauce. Aura, one of the strongest characters in the Dragon Ball franchise, Base Vegeta would prove to his opponents that they were frauds. Understand, he was fighting Buhan with just his legs, arms behind his back. He's like, is that all you got? Understand, he is a final trump card. Vegeta will only come out should the situation demands it, and if
I don't think Vegito has like finished the fight.
And, of course, a headlining 10th anniversary.
I mean, you're usually there to RR farm. Then you have to come up with another like creative way.
Well, because of the extremity of the deck that is full power shoots and tier limits, and with how powerful Goku has become over the years, it all boils down to who counters what. Tier limits can bounce cards, negate with the traps, or shuffle cards back with the Shizu cards. It mills so many cards during a single turn that it's just so explosive. Goku has a plethora of options at his disposal to deal with the Teal cards, but would they count sending him as the graveyard as a card effect? That is the main thing, because if they do, well, Goku is going to have to feel the wrath of Teal'c's Kaleido Heart and his giant tentacles. But, after some thought, I do think full power Teal would beat Goku. The deck is too resilient, provides too much card advantage, disruption, and most definitely will find a way to shuffle back Goku or the Potara away, leaving Goku's most strongest and best option gone. Now, Goku, while he has options, simply can't handle the response of Chain Havness the moment he does anything, right? He waves, he says, hi, how strong are you? You go Chain Havness, that's it, it's over. But I do think he can definitely be Dark Magician, though. In conclusion, this is a very silly video. I did this for fun. I have no idea what I'm doing. Thank you all for watching, though. Shout out to Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle 10th anniversary, celebrating its 10th anniversary, and
yeah. Can you send me this? Okay. I'll show Walter. All right. All right. Dang, you in his DMs, bruh? All right. That's cool. That's cool. Let me know what he says. This video is an entire joke. Please don't take it seriously. Finally, get out of here, MVT. Hey, it's me, Goku. You look pretty Chainlink to Havness. What is Goku going to do when he gets impermanence? Oh my god. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay, I'll what is this? Pie chart. We have tier limits, 60 Ryzeal. Oh my god, is that really the scientist? And this is Malice, right? And then a bunch of others. All right, have a good one, Orbs. Oh, It's your goat.
帝君是闪刀啊，电君是雷火。我们来看一下这次的这个
The right is the top.
这次的这个饼图吧，就是初轮饼图。
So Malice
初
1
轮
and
饼
2.
图呢
I see.
，32强初轮，瑞士轮是6轮
Meta beat
啊，有8个玛丽斯，8个雷火，5个猪类，5个魔科啊，1个闪刀，1个魔术师啊，还有一个 Meta
what
beat，
is the one,
一个龙
one,
Link， 一个自斗圣月哈基尼，还有一个星辰。也是比较
Oh, so this is top 32.
也是这个比较丰富多彩的。
8 Malice, 8 Raizio, 5 tier. Nice.
这个其实有
So tier 8 even shit. It's just crossover breakers.
虽然都这么说
5 scientists? Okay.
所有人哪怕包括是这个初轮的选手啊，其实也是这么想，因为其实你看他们的构筑。
Damn, tier 8 converting? Tier got power creep, I told you. I understand. I think I got what you were saying.
但是最后谁都没想到2个玛丽斯。通过这次比较新颖的构筑。
Damn, can Goku beat Negatinator? Raizio Detonator. I think Raizio Detonator doesn't have enough detaches to defend against Goku's attacks, but Raizio Cross is kind of fucked up.
冠军构筑的话呢
I can't even imagine what I'm seeing.
玛丽斯的构筑，这个玛丽斯可以说是非常经典啊。
Grifter had that crown, not like tier. Yeah, that's true.
因为有这个烟钻出版效果的烟钻嘛，所以我通过烟钻还有通过未来融合去调度啊，我可以通过未来融合去融一个白雪。
Goku could probably Spirit Bomb White Binder, but then you just go March Hare, banish White Binder, and she comes back.
烟钻的话呢
So I don't know.
如果摸到烟钻的话
Is that full power tier? Yeah, it's full power tier.
来调度玛丽斯。所以他把玛丽斯的主轴压得非常低，可以看到他的玛丽斯。
Oh, do they have a little Malice
裁军
package?
1个白兔，然后岁数因为通招作为能动点嘛，所以他给带2个。
Oh my god, they're playing Protector of the Sanctuary. They're playing Protector of the Sanctuary. That's hilarious. Oh, is this the Denial guy? Also Last Will. That makes sense.
3月兔只带1张。然后魔法只选择带了场地，速攻都不带了。陷阱的话也只选择带了07，因为有烟钻这种牌，所以导致
I never would have expected like a deck like this to evolve into. This makes a lot of sense. You don't have to go crazy into engine. This is like something to the Denial Deity. I really like this fusion a lot. This card's really cool. Can I just build different?
怎么说呢？这个牌组的 link 值
I mean, it makes sense. I feel like if you play this format enough, you'll come to this conclusion.
玛丽斯要赢的话，其实除了我们常规欧队理解的玛丽斯的这些终端之外啊
I don't know, like the Red Ransom being able to like access everything, like makes a lot of sense to me. Like why you can just cut down on this shit.
无尽线玛丽斯基本上是用这个
Wait, what for cards?
其实相当于
Is that
是
third
有
pick of the
被优
rules?
化的龙泉，因为反正龙泉打到最后也
I
是这样
see.
构筑方面呢，主卡首坑选择3张屁头，3张
I'm gonna skip a little bit ahead.
灰
I kind of want to see the deck list.
3张灰，3张
I'm sure he's
大宇宙
explaining
人
everything.
去找到光子粒子来防这个炸鸡的一个 FTK。而且这次有了烟钻之后
Oh my god, I forgot last will's legal.
下面牌组可以选择拉
Oh wait, that was a different list. So that had backup.
这个大外神进行一定的动作，所以只能
Oh,
说
it's
这个
50
烟钻的
cards.
出版效果还是有点过于变态了一点啊。然后是
They're doing Denial Deity.
闪刀啊，这个闪刀这次
Sky Striker
它的构筑就是3收3削。特别是
Oh, they're playing Silent Graveyard.
这个对于闪刀的补强非常的大，而且很多时候就是有那种对局，就是
What for cards
对方
they end up
大卫
banning?
神妥协，然后闪刀就通过
It's a little bit hard
3抽
to
和交闪
make
3
out
抽
because of
牌
like all the
抽完
neon
后
here.
连过这个3削啊，3削可
I
能
think I
连
see
连甩
Prizing.
4张出去把对方手牌打完，然后下回合对方一抽没摸到动点，闪刀再进行反打。
Oh, okay, thank you.
甚至是有这样，比如说，甚至是有这样的解场啊。然后包括这次魔法呢，因为还有这个论语圣女啊，这个东西确实是非常之牛逼。
Dude, there's like barely any hard OPTs in this fucking
在
deck.
环境内的解场是非常无敌的。 啊，也是在无尽限比赛，一个牌组可以选择拉满。
I like the Curry Photon for. I'm guessing it's Scientist FTK.
平时在跟这种东西打的人也是真累啊。额外的话，包括背牌其实没什么好什么问题啊。
Oh yeah, my favorite, Ryzeal.
被干爆了，没辙。圣枪已经很努力了，就这样圣枪啊，墓地封印、红色重启啊，收押，我觉得也没什么好讲，已经尽力了。这个半决赛没打赢，我只能说尽力了。然后接下来是8强的构筑啊，这个雷火啊，其实也大差不差吧。他这里唯一就选择多带了吃命啥的，赤命和日全食啊。然后这个也是个雷火。
Yeah, I'm not surprised by Ryzeal.
带了
Holy
超融合
shit.
组件进行一个突破。其实大致没什么区别。收张牌，他这个牌组密之力只有7张卡。哎，
Is this the world?
其实本质还是一种刻模魔科。但是因为有着烟钻，有着这个出版3眼，有着未来融合堆的这套组件，所以未来融合堆这个巨神这一套，其实它的密之力也变得相对更好调度。
This denial deity.
你要说它这个密之力有什么用吧？我个人感觉可能还是选手自己想带啊，我觉得更有这个倾向。当然还有一点好处就是。他在魔科 FTK
Oh, it's 1 light monster plus 2 monsters that can be dumped off Future Fusion. Relinquish, Spellbook of Judgment, Rise of the Snake Deity, Gilgarth. Why Gilgarth? Gilgarth's like a normal monster. Relinquish, Spellbook of Judgment, Rise of the Snake Deity, Gilgarth. I guess Rise of the Snake Deity makes sense. Spellbook makes sense to me. Relinquished. Gilgarth, I can't. There must be some FTK. Yeah. It's I can't see the WinCon. Oh, they're playing Yummy. That's kind of cute. Oh, it's the world. That's the FTK.
下它多了一种变相 FTK 的手段，就是世界的这种变相 FTK 按一回合。我觉得是对于这个牌组有一点这个怎么说呢？
And then they have the Starving Venom.
先攻
Oh, they're playing Alexander here
奇怪
too.
手坑或者中了一些奇怪打断之后的一些容错空间吧。我觉得这方面还是有的。这个构筑我觉得还是有说法啊。不管怎么说，密之力这个世界跳回合。
Damn, that's crazy. Denial Deity Doton as the Future Fusion target is
然后
hilarious.
是这8
Draco
强的最后一
Tail
个是星辰啊。星辰这次的构筑呢，就比较也其实也是沾了一点这个叫什么。
To be honest, this list doesn't seem that like
就是炮手可以直接把3眼黑森林加1怪去龙出这个冰玉龙，然后就可以强行触发黑眼，也很合理。然后背牌方面没有太多可讲吧，就是有带合成龙，因为能天球能出，因为这个星辰这套就是血马。够赢了，我觉得已经够赢了。就你只要能展开，很多人其实看到你展开已经2眼1黑了。在这种环境下，你要
This last will is so fucked up.
也没活了，其实也没必要带这些东西啊。然后这是一个40猪类啊，这次猪类没有进8强啊。
Nappy Rim. Okay, they're not playing. They're just playing Herald of Orange Light.
是一个40猪可以说是非常精简了。这次猪类比较就是你摁塞，你差不多也得塞到这上非常不错。然后它
No tier in top 8 is fucking. Well, I guess there's a side deck, but I guess you could also say you can side deck against Malice too. But there's no Lancia that I see. Damn.
我只能说他在这套东西上他能带的，我觉得他也基本都带了。但是但就是没晋级嘛，那怎么办嘛？然后还有一个就是这个东西啊，就说呢，他已经能够把这种就是
Oh yeah. Okay, tier is washed. Okay, I think tier we could stop blazing tier as the most powerful deck ever or some shit. All right, I'll watch the.
Hey guys, it's Yishan here. I'm excited to bring you guys another math and Yu-Gi-Oh video.
Oh, it's more than 50. You're right. Yeah, it's 30. It's 30. It's 30. I did see that from the rules.
In this video, I'm going to break down and give you a program that you can run on your own computer to figure out how many Pot of Desires you should play in your deck. And in this video, I'm going to go through the math behind that program so you can understand it and run it for yourself and make some of your own decisions. All right, guys, but before we get into the meat of the video,
Well, that was good to know. That was good to know.
Really appreciate it if you guys.
I feel like the last 3 tournaments that I saw that were unlimited were like fraudulent.
10 hours.
We're
probably
tier
plus.
not
So
performing
please
as
consider
high.
subscribing. I would really, really appreciate it. Let's get right into the video. Okay, so here we go. The math behind Pot Desires, right? And the main question I would say.
One thing to keep in mind when you're calculating desires, it is literally pot of greed, probability wise. The reason why, I forgot the principle in probability, but you don't know what you banish until after you draw 2 cards. So because it's like still random, it's no different than drawing 2 cards from the bottom of your deck, 2 cards from the middle of your deck. I forgot what the mutual exclusionary. I don't think so. I don't think that's it. There's an idea basically. If you knew what you banished and then drew a card, then your probability changes because the amount of information you have is changing. But it's no different. So if you calculate pot of desires, it's like super easy. I'm sure he's gonna calculate. He's gonna talk about it different, but it's literally just pot of greed. That's why what's it called? Now, if you were to ask about whether the cards you hand are live, then there is some what's it called. But if you're talking about like the odds of drawing a starter specifically, I know we live in the modern age where some starters require cards in deck to be functional, but for at the base level, it's not that complicated.
How many should you play? That's the main question. Some people say you play 3. Some people you say play 2. Some people I've even seen.
I'm a 3. I was always a 3 truther. Or just the max amount of copies available.
However, because it's so simple, we can actually do a lot
like
of calculations.
Desires, draw desires is so fake. It's just really a matter of like whether you can afford to banish 1 card that you need in your strategy. I don't know. It's just you really have to consider all the options too, because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'll banish all my starters." Like, why don't you have starters in your hand? If you don't have starters in your hand already, then why does it matter all your starters were banished? Because if you didn't have any starters already, your chance of drawing, how to describe it? You had to find starters in the first place, and you just didn't roll the starters. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't have starters in the first place, your likelihood of winning that game is already low. So like you're kind of just tilting yourself after pointing out that your starters are all banished if you already can't play. I think realistically, Pot of Desires would usually be paired with a starter. Like they'll all start with a card, they interact with it, then a Desires for more extenders or additional starters to continue playing, or you full combo and you Desires for non-engine. That's usually the more realistic outcome for Pot of Desires. If you completely bricked and then you Desires as a Hail Mary, then it'll still turn. I remember it's still positive, but like the one outcome of banishing all your starters is like actually super fake. It is a very, very negative outcome, and you're probably more likely to remember it. But I think there's a lot of hemming and hawing. Like Desires.
To calculate sort of an optimal way to play Pot of Desires in your deck. Okay.
He's kind of quiet.
I see 2 arguments. And usually people argue between 2 Pot of Desires or 3 Pot of Desires, but here are the 2 arguments I see. Desires is played at 2 because you don't want to see the second copy, because in grind games you might draw a bunch of extra Desires. That's why
this is cap. That first one is cap. You don't want to see the second copy, but you also want to see the first copy in the first place. It's like a 10% difference. Like if you play 3 copies, there's a 33% chance you'll play it. You'll see it. 2 copies is like 24%. So there's actually significant difference. The chance to open multiples only increases by not that much. It's true. Like yeah, okay, right. You want to open Desires every game you play. That's like where I stand on the
every game, so you play 3. And both comments have merit. The main point actually is that, your goal is to draw exactly 1 Desire throughout the course of the game. That's when it's most effective, right? So you're trying to maximize that chance while also minimizing the chance that you draw second Desires throughout that game, right? And so some people say, well, the best ratio to do that is to play 2. And some people say, well, you should play 3 because then you'll see it more often, right? So, it really depends. And that's really the 2 different approaches that I see. So we're going to give you a mathematical tool, a mathematical program to solve this yourself. Okay, but first I want to get into how to do some basic calculations, because I think a lot of people misunderstand how Pot of Desires works, how to do some calculations behind Pot of Desires. Let's take a look, right? Lots of people do these incorrectly. So let's take an example.
Desires though? No, that's fake as fuck. That's also fake as fuck. Also, you +1. So like even if you draw Desires, you still see it another card. It literally has to be Desires, banish, 10, draw 2 desires for you to actually be like you're just tilting yourself for no reason. Good chance of desire also banish. Yeah, that's the other thing. Assume that I have 35 cards left in my deck. One of those cards is Pot of Desires. I activate with a chance I draw into another Pot of Desires. 35. One of those cards is a Pot of Desires. What a chance. Isn't it just like the chance of drawing 2 opening? Isn't it 2 out of 30? Not 2 out of 35 the fraction, but the combination. Yeah, isn't it like 35 take 2 or something? It's not, you don't have to, like, I think in this question, you don't have to worry about the banish here.
The example is, assume I have 35 cards left in my deck. One of those cards is a Pot of Desires, right? So I have 1 Pot of Desires and 35 cards in my deck.
Okay, so I could probably do it right now. If I'm understanding, you don't actually have to complicate this one. Population size 35, number of successes 2, sample size 2, number of successes sample 1, at least 1. Okay, 32%. Oh no, that's standard deviation, 10%. Or 11%. Well, so yeah, you're attempting to draw 2. You have. He didn't mention. Did he mention 3 in deck? He should probably mention that. But you should have 2 in deck, and you're attempting to draw 2.
I activate a Pot of Desires. What is the chance I draw into another Pot of Desires, right? So this is a pretty interesting question. So I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it. You can pause the video here. If you just want to enjoy the show, then I will go and reveal the answer to you. Okay, so here we go. The answer is it's actually just 1 in 35. That's
1 in 35? Shit. But did he have 2 in deck or 1 in deck? Because if it's 2 in deck, if he has 1 in deck, then yeah, it's 1 in 35.
That's it. And a lot of people say, wait, Ishan, what about the 10 cards that you banish face down? Don't you have to calculate that somehow? Well, turns out the answer is actually no. We don't have to calculate that. And the reason is something that we know in probability theory called independence. And basically...
Yeah, this is the idea where like the banishes don't matter. This is the probability concept.
Is if you know the outcome of one event, it does not affect the outcome of another. Now, if you know the 10 cards that you banish face down, if you know what they were, then this probability, this 1 in 35 probability will change. However, when you activate that Pot of Desires, you don't know which 10 cards you're going to banish face down. And so as a result, it's actually just still 1 in 35 because knowing that you're going to banish 10 cards face down doesn't give you any extra information. You just know that you're
It's no, like I said, it's no different from drawing 2 from the bottom of the deck, drawing 2 from the middle, drawing 2 from, I don't know, the 30th position of your deck. It doesn't matter. The banish 10 only matters when you're looking at the card you're drawing in hand and it has some dependence on a card in your main being present there. It like literally doesn't. And like this is a very, very tough concept. I've tried to explain it to people and they piss me off because like they're like, you're underthinking the problem. I'm like, okay, you know what? Go back to school. Okay, I can't help you. They teach you this. Only if you sag.
In there. A lot of people get
That's true, actually. If you know the order of your 40 cards before you activate desires, then yeah, the probability changes.
Pot of Desires math. So something to think about is the this independence theory. Now, I don't want to get too into it, but you can read into it yourself if you want. Okay, so before we do our math, we need to have a way to understand how valuable, how good or bad Pot of Desires is, right? We want to know, how we need some sort of metric. We need some sort of number that says, well, in this case, Pot of Desires is this good, and in this case, Pot of Desires is this good, right? And so I think the easiest way to do this analysis is to use the concept of card advantage. For example, all Yu-Gi-Oh players know, if I play Pot of Desires and I draw 2 cards, I've went +1 in card advantage, right? But for the sake of simplicity, let's just assume that it's always bad to activate the single Pot of Desires. That's one of the arguments for playing only 2 Pot of Desires. You don't want to see multiple, right? So let's assume that if you activate Pot of Desires and you draw into another Pot of Desires, that's actually not a good thing. You didn't actually +1 there, right? In fact, it might actually be worse because you managed the top 10 cards of your deck face down. Okay, so our goal for all of this is to see how much total card advantage, on average, we can gain from putting Pot of Desires in our deck, and we've got some other variables. That's our goal, is to understand how much card advantage we are able to.
I've won games when I've activated a second Desires. But it's usually because I've already developed my combo, and I'm really just drawing. Obviously it could lose you the game, but I don't think the banishing really comes up too much. I need like a monster to like, link summon, for example. Something like that. Like and sometimes people will just ash the first one. But yeah,
okay. And so let's lay some groundwork here. Okay. So we have a few variables that we need to keep track of, and the first one is our deck. size, right? So that's of course very important. That's just going to change the calculations, so to change the outcome. So yeah, deck size. We also need to know the number of desires in our deck. That's not really that surprising.
With
either.
10
That's
one-ups,
gonna matter
rip.
a lot. So a lot of times you can have your deck size fixed and vary the number of desires in your deck to see what your math is like. The number of cards we expect to draw in a game. This is another very important variable, and something you can do is just to actually look through your previous games if you play on Dueling Book to see about how many cards you're drawing every game, not including Pot of Desires draw. So for example, if you are playing games that last 3 turns, then you might say you draw 8 cards on average per game, right? And then the last variable, which is also the most complicated variable, most confusing variable, is the negative value of a Banish 10 face down. So let's get into this fourth variable, because this is the most complicated variable and the one that you need to understand so that we can do our calculations. So what the heck do you mean, Ishan? What is this negative value? What the heck are you talking about? Negative card advantage? What do you mean? Well, okay, so to help you guys understand this, I asked 2 really, really, really good players, right? And I wanted to try to see if I could make this Banish 10, understand how bad is this Banish 10.
I played Pot of Desires in tier for what it's worth. Like, that was another deck that people would, like, be allergic to Desires, but it was extremely strong. Like, I've only seen a couple other people do that. Well, okay, 3 actually. Jesse in Worlds. There was, I forgot his name. Mount Fuji. And was it Walter? Walter played Desires, right? Yugi Haircut? Yeah, Yugi Haircut. I think Walter I think for the most part, I do think it's fine treated as Pot of Greed. You can't always ignore the Banish 10, but in situations, like, you can still minimize it. In a lot more situations than people give it credit for. That's a salad? Oh, okay, yeah, there it is, yeah. There's Salamangreat of Fire, or whatever. Will of the Salamangreat. Alright.
Oh,
like, for the most part, it does function as Pot of Greed, but that's fair enough. You can, like, someone can be like, yeah. I played it in tier when, I think when tier names were limited. Based on vibes. I mean, I'm okay if people don't play it based on vibes if they admit it's vibes. If they try to be like rationalize it without formalizing a reason, a convincing reason, then like you're trying to like rationalization is annoying as fuck in general. But like just say you don't like it, okay? Like I'm not gonna fucking convince someone to if you hate like strawberry flavor, I'm not gonna make you eat strawberry flavor. They're superstitious? Yeah. Oh, it's ready? Oh, fuck. I'll have to go. I'll have to end stream. But, dude, I'll revisit this. Desires is like... Yeah, there's superstitions associated with Desires. I don't like the idea of random variants. Yeah, that's fair enough. I've already been able to... Like, once this card came out, I knew this card was good. And I liked the way the card existed because to me, it was like, okay, those who understand it's good and can slot it into a deck where it's good, like, it feels, like, rewarding. And that was my favorite aspect of this card. But, oh well. Okay, I'll have to go. It's time to eat. We're probably gonna watch Stranger Things. I think the second batch dropped, and then the finale drops New Year's Eve. That said, Stranger Things is kind of I like the fact that they're like, everyone is like split up and doing stuff, and like have their own subplots. But some subplots are less interesting than others. SMH fake bum. That's true. Yeah, fake bum. No bumming. All right. I'll get back to this. Maybe tomorrow I'll do some Astro. Okay, tomorrow I'll get back to this and La. Okay, where do I send you guys? Thank you for showing up. Hope you guys had a happy holiday, happy Thursday, happy scam react. We did scam. Yeah, we did scam. Okay, we watched the Joshua video, though. I think that's, like... Okay. You guys... Okay, this person has raided me before, but I haven't gotten a chance to raid back, so... Looks like they're having a rogue tourney. Yeah, scam react. Yeah. Really Orm, really buh. Okay, what else? Do I have anything else to say? Not really. Oh, I was complaining about Stranger Things. Hopefully it picks up. I don't like how they're all split up and then they're also not telling each other things until the most dramatic moment. So I was like, bruh. All right. Bye-bye.